Tonight, we're going to walk with one of history's most powerful armies, the Roman soldiers. But we won't talk about big battles. Instead, we'll quietly visit their camps and fires, seeing what daily life was really like for the men who built an empire. But first, I want you to know what this video is for. This isn't like other history videos. I made this specially to help you fall asleep while learning something amazing. Most videos try to keep you awake and excited, but at bedtime, your mind needs something different. It needs stories that are interesting enough to stop your worried thoughts, but calm enough to help you relax and drift off. That's exactly what we'll do tonight. Thank you for being here, for choosing to learn something wonderful before sleep. In a busy world full of noise, you've picked something peaceful and deep. This is educational bedtime, where stories are long, voices are soft, and history unfolds slowly, like old books by candlelight. No loud sounds, no sudden changes, just the gentle flow of history told the right way for bedtime. Now, get as comfortable as you can. Let your shoulders drop, let your breathing slow down, and feel your busy thoughts starting to quiet. You can put your phone down, you don't need to watch anything, just listen, and let your mind follow the story. The year is 58 BCE. You're about to join a Roman army marching into Gaul, where only the strong survive. But don't worry about hearing every word. This story will carry you safely into dreams of ancient Rome, even if you drift away. Take a deep breath, close your eyes, and come with me into this story of soldiers and empire. Sweet dreams are waiting at the end of our journey. Chapter 1. Why you wouldn't survive your first month in a Roman legion. Imagine yourself standing in the morning mist outside the gates of a Roman military camp near Aquileia, in northern Italy, the year 58 BCE. The air carries the acrid smell of wood smoke, leather oil, and something far more unnerving, the scent of 10,000 men who have learned to live, eat, and sleep, according to a discipline so rigid that every moment of their existence is regulated by trumpet calls and the commands of centurions whose voices can freeze your blood. You're about to join Legio Ex Fretensis, one of Caesar's most trusted legions, and discover that everything you thought you knew about hardship was merely preparation for this moment. Your new home is not a place of comfort, but a machine of war disguised as a temporary settlement. The camp that surrounds you has been laid out according to specifications that have remained unchanged for generations. A perfect rectangle protected by earthworks and palisades that can be constructed in a matter of hours by men who have repeated this process thousands of times. Every tent, every pathway, every latrine has been positioned according to a mathematical precision that reflects the Roman understanding that chaos is the enemy of victory, and that order must be imposed on every aspect of military life if the legion is to function as a single lethal organism. The geometry that governs Roman camp construction demonstrates mathematical principles applied to military organization with scientific precision that rivals any engineering project in the ancient world. The camp's rectangular shape maximizes defensive capabilities while minimizing construction time, with corners positioned to provide overlapping fields of fire for defensive weapons. The internal street system follows a grid pattern that enables rapid movement of troops and supplies while ensuring that every location within the camp can be reached quickly during emergencies. The standardization of camp layout means that every soldier knows the location of essential facilities regardless of local terrain or tactical circumstances. The defensive works that protect Roman camps represent engineering achievements that exceed anything attempted by contemporary armies. The ditch systems that surround installations are designed according to specifications that account for local soil conditions and drainage requirements, while the ramparts that protect camp perimeters utilize construction techniques that maximize defensive strength while minimizing material and labor requirements. The palisades that crown these earthworks are constructed using standardized components that can be quickly assembled and disassembled as armies move across vast territories. The camp itself represents a marvel of military engineering that no other civilization has matched. The Principia, or headquarters, occupies the exact center, surrounded by the tents of the tribunes and senior centurions in a hierarchy that reflects not birth or wealth, but proven competence in the art of killing and commanding. The Via Principalis, the main road that bisects the camp, is wide enough for supply wagons and cavalry units, while the smaller paths that lead to each century's quarters are precisely measured to allow rapid deployment during night attacks or morning formations. The administrative complexity that characterizes Roman camp organization demonstrates governmental capabilities that surpass most contemporary city-states. Record-keeping systems track the location and status of every individual within the camp, while supply management ensures that food, water, and equipment reach appropriate destinations according to predetermined schedules. The communication networks that connect different parts of the camp enable commanders to transmit orders and receive reports with efficiency that allows coordination of activities involving thousands of people operating within confined spaces. The sanitation systems that maintain health within Roman camps reflect understanding of public health principles that won't be matched for over a millennium. Latrine construction follows specifications that prevent contamination of water sources while controlling disease transmission, while waste disposal procedures ensure that camps remain habitable during extended occupations. The water supply systems that provide clean drinking water demonstrate engineering capabilities that enable armies to operate independently of local water sources, while maintaining health standards that prevent disease outbreaks that could destroy military effectiveness. Your tent, shared with 7 other legionaries in a unit called a contubernium, contains everything you will own for the next 25 years of military service. Your sleeping space is marked by a single blanket, and a kit that includes your weapons, armor, cooking pot, and personal items that must fit within the strict weight limits imposed by commanders, who understand that every ounce of unnecessary equipment slows the march and weakens the legion. The men who share this cramped space will become closer to you than family, because your survival depends entirely on their competence, and theirs depends on yours. The social organization that governs contubernium relationships demonstrates Roman understanding of military psychology that creates artificial family structures for men separated from their natural communities. The 8-man unit provides intimate social support while maintaining military discipline, with shared responsibilities for cooking, equipment maintenance, and mutual protection that create bonds stronger than blood relationships. The rotation of duties within the contubernium ensures that every man develops skills essential for group survival, while preventing the specialization that might weaken unit effectiveness if individuals are killed or wounded. The equipment allocation that determines what each legionary carries reflects centuries of experience in balancing individual needs against collective mobility requirements. Personal weapons including gladius, pugio, and pila must be maintained in fighting condition, while remaining portable enough to carry during marches that may cover hundreds of miles. Armor, including lorica hamata and scutum, must provide adequate protection, while allowing the freedom of movement necessary for complex tactical maneuvers. Personal items including cooking equipment, clothing, and writing materials must serve essential functions while conforming to weight restrictions that enable strategic mobility. The morning begins with the bacchina, a curved horn, whose sound will become as familiar as your own breathing. The call comes before dawn, cutting through the cold air like a blade, summoning every man in the legion to duties that have been assigned with the precision of clockwork. There is no snooze button in Roman military life, no gradual awakening, no personal choice about when to begin the day. You rise when Rome commands, you eat when Rome permits, and you sleep when Rome decides your duties are complete. The time discipline that governs Roman military life demonstrates understanding of coordination principles that enable large organizations to function effectively across vast scales of operation. The standardization of daily schedules ensures that complex activities involving thousands of people can be coordinated without confusion or conflict, while the predictability of routine activities allows individuals to prepare mentally and physically for duties that may require immediate response to changing tactical situations. The temporal organization of military life creates artificial rhythms that replace the natural cycles that govern civilian existence. The trumpet calls that regulate daily activities demonstrate Roman appreciation for the role of communication in maintaining organizational discipline. Different horn signals convey specific information about required activities, emergency situations, and tactical deployments, while the standardization of signals ensures consistent interpretation regardless of local conditions or unit composition. The acoustic systems that transmit commands throughout large military installations enable coordination that would be impossible through visual signals alone, especially during darkness or adverse weather conditions. Your first task is the morning inspection, a ritual that reveals the Romans' understanding that attention to detail separates professional soldiers from armed rabble. Your centurion, a man whose scars tell the story of campaigns from Britain to Syria, examines every piece of equipment with an intensity that borders on obsession. Your gladius must be sharp enough to shave with, your chainmail free of rust, your shield grip secure enough to withstand the impact of Gallic swords. A loose helmet strap or dull blade can result in punishment that ranges from extra duties to flogging in front of the entire century. The inspection procedures that begin each day demonstrate Roman systematic approaches to quality control that ensure consistent performance under combat conditions. The evaluation criteria that determine equipment acceptability reflect practical experience gained through generations of warfare, while the punishment systems that enforce standards create incentives for maintaining excellence that can mean the difference between life and death during battle. The public nature of inspections serves educational purposes that teach proper standards while creating social pressure that reinforces individual responsibility for unit effectiveness. The maintenance standards that govern Roman military equipment reflect understanding of the relationship between equipment reliability and combat survival that distinguishes professional armies from amateur forces. Weapon sharpness requirements ensure that swords can penetrate armor and inflict fatal wounds, while armor maintenance procedures prevent equipment failures that could prove fatal during combat. The shield inspection protocols verify structural integrity that enables defensive formations to function effectively, while helmet fitting procedures ensure protection that doesn't interfere with vision or communication during tactical operations. The equipment that defines your existence as a legionary represents centuries of refinement in the art of personal warfare. The Lurica Hamata, your chainmail shirt, weighs nearly 30 pounds, but provides protection that has been tested in battles across 3 continents. Each ring has been forged by craftsmen who understand that a single weak link can allow an enemy spear to find your heart. The shirt hangs to mid-thigh, protecting your torso, while allowing the leg movement necessary for the complex maneuvers that make Roman infantry superior to any enemy they've encountered. The metallurgy that creates Roman military equipment demonstrates technological capabilities that exceed anything available to contemporary civilizations. Iron-working techniques produce steel that maintains sharp edges while resisting breakage under combat stress, while quality control procedures ensure consistent material properties across large quantities of manufactured goods. The standardization that characterizes Roman weapons production enables interchangeability that facilitates field repairs and replacement, while the testing procedures that verify equipment performance ensure reliability under actual combat conditions. The armor design that protects Roman soldiers reflects systematic study of wound patterns and weapon effectiveness that has been conducted through centuries of military experience. Chainmail construction provides flexibility that allows full range of motion while offering protection against cutting weapons, while the coverage patterns that protect vital organs have been optimized through analysis of combat casualties. The weight distribution systems that make armor bearable during extended wear reflect understanding of human anatomy and biomechanics that enables soldiers to fight effectively while maintaining protection. Your scutum, the curved rectangular shield that will become an extension of your left arm, is a masterpiece of military engineering disguised as a simple piece of equipment, constructed from 3 layers of wood glued together with grain running in different directions, covered with canvas and leather, and reinforced with bronze fittings. This shield can stop arrows, deflect spear thrusts, and deliver crushing blows when used offensively. The grip has been positioned to distribute weight perfectly, allowing you to hold the shield steady during hours of combat while maintaining the mobility necessary for advance and retreat. The shield construction techniques that create Roman scuta demonstrate woodworking capabilities that rival the finest furniture of the ancient world. The laminated construction that provides strength while controlling weight utilizes adhesive techniques that create permanent bonds stronger than the wood itself, while the grain orientation that provides impact resistance reflects understanding of wood properties that enables optimal performance. The covering materials that protect wooden cores from moisture and impact damage utilize leatherworking techniques that create durable surfaces while maintaining flexibility necessary for combat maneuvers. The ergonomic design that makes Roman shields usable during extended combat reflects systematic study of human anatomy and combat biomechanics that enables optimal performance under stress. Grip positioning accounts for natural arm positions that minimize fatigue while maintaining control, while weight distribution ensures that shields remain maneuverable even when soldiers are exhausted. The size and shape specifications that define scutum dimensions have been optimized through combat experience that balances protection against mobility requirements, creating shields that provide maximum defensive capability without interfering with offensive operations. Your gladius, the short sword that has conquered the Mediterranean world, reflects Roman pragmatism in its deadly simplicity. Unlike the long swords favored by barbarian warriors, the gladius has been designed for the close-quarters combat that characterizes Roman tactics. The 20-inch blade is perfectly balanced for thrusting attacks that can penetrate armor and kill instantly, while the broad fuller running down the center reduces weight without sacrificing strength. The grip fits your hand as if it were made specifically for you, because competent legionaries learn to treat their weapons as extensions of their own bodies. The sword design that creates Roman gladia demonstrates metallurgical expertise that produces weapons superior to anything available to contemporary armies. Blade geometry optimizes penetrating power while maintaining structural strength necessary for repeated combat use, while heat treatment processes create edge hardness that maintains sharpness while preventing brittleness that could cause blade failure. The tang construction that attaches blades to handles utilizes joint techniques that distribute stress evenly while creating permanent connections that won't fail under combat conditions. The combat techniques that maximize gladius effectiveness reflect tactical innovations that have been developed through generations of close-quarters fighting experience. Thrusting attacks that target vital organs provide greater lethality than slashing techniques while requiring less space for execution, enabling combat effectiveness in dense formations where traditional sword fighting methods become impossible. The coordination between sword and shield techniques creates defensive capabilities that protect individual soldiers while maintaining offensive potential, allowing sustained combat operations that wear down enemies who lack similar tactical integration. The pilum, your throwing spear, represents perhaps the most innovative piece of military equipment ever developed. The 6-foot shaft topped with a narrow iron point has been designed to penetrate enemy shields and armor, but the ingenious construction ensures that the iron shank bends upon impact, making the spear impossible to remove and useless to throw back. Enemy warriors who catch Pila in their shields must either abandon their primary defense or continue fighting with unwieldy spears dragging from their equipment. This weapon alone has decided countless battles before Roman swords are ever drawn. The engineering principles that govern pilum construction demonstrate Roman innovation in weapons design that creates tactical advantages unavailable to armies using conventional weapons. The differential hardness that allows iron points to penetrate armor while ensuring that shanks bend upon impact requires metallurgical techniques that produce precisely controlled material properties. The balance point that enables accurate throwing while maintaining penetrating power reflects understanding of projectile physics that enables effective use at ranges that maximize tactical flexibility. The tactical applications that make Pila decisive in Roman combat demonstrate systematic approaches to weapons integration that coordinate different types of equipment into cohesive fighting systems. Throwing techniques that maximize accuracy while maintaining formation integrity enable volley fire that disrupts enemy formations before close combat begins, while the timing systems that coordinate pilum throws with shield wall advances create tactical combinations that no contemporary enemy can counter effectively. The ammunition supply procedures that ensure adequate Pila availability during extended combat enable sustained operations that exhaust enemies who lack similar logistical capabilities. After inspection comes the morning meal, if you can call it that. Roman military rations reflect the empire's understanding that armies march on their stomachs, but that luxury is the enemy of discipline. Your breakfast consists of bursilatum, hard biscuits that require soaking in water or wine to become edible, posca, a sour wine mixed with water that provides liquid and minimal alcohol, and perhaps a small portion of cheese or olives, if the supply train has been successful. The food is nutrition without pleasure, fuel without taste, designed to keep you alive and fighting without providing comfort that might soften your warrior's edge. The nutritional science that governs Roman military rations demonstrates understanding of dietary requirements that enables sustained physical performance under demanding conditions. Carbohydrate content that provides energy for marching and combat comes from grain products that store well while remaining portable, while protein from dairy and meat sources supports muscle maintenance during periods of intense physical stress. The caloric calculations that determine ration sizes account for energy expenditure during different types of military activities, ensuring adequate nutrition while minimizing supply requirements that could limit strategic mobility. The food preservation techniques that enable Roman armies to operate independently of local food sources represent technological achievements that won't be improved upon for centuries. Grain processing methods that create hardtack produce foods that resist spoilage while remaining nutritious, enabling armies to carry adequate supplies for extended independent operations. Dairy preservation techniques that produce long-lasting cheeses provide protein and calcium that maintain bone strength, while fermentation processes that create posca eliminate pathogens while providing vitamins that prevent diseases common to armies operating on limited diets. The eating process itself reveals the communal nature of Roman military life. Your contubernium shares not only tent space, but also cooking duties, with each man taking turns at food preparation, equipment maintenance, and the countless small tasks that keep a military unit functioning. You eat from the same pot, drink from the same water source, and maintain the same equipment that your tent mates depend on for survival. Individual preference becomes irrelevant when group survival is at stake, and you learn to sublimate personal desires to the needs of the unit. The social psychology that governs contubernium relationships creates artificial family structures that provide emotional support while maintaining military effectiveness. Shared responsibilities create mutual dependence that ensures individual reliability, while collective ownership of equipment and supplies eliminates conflicts that might arise from private property disputes. The rotation systems that distribute unpleasant tasks fairly prevent resentment, while ensuring that every individual develops skills necessary for group survival, creating versatility that maintains unit effectiveness even when individuals are killed or wounded during combat operations. The cooking techniques that Roman soldiers employ demonstrate practical skills that enable nutrition preparation under field conditions that lack civilian conveniences. Fire building methods that maximize heat while minimizing smoke, prevent detection by enemies while providing adequate cooking temperatures, while pot management techniques that prevent burning ensure that limited food supplies are not wasted. Water purification procedures that eliminate pathogens prevent disease outbreaks that could destroy unit effectiveness, while food storage methods that prevent spoilage ensure that rations remain edible during extended field operations. Following the brief meal comes the morning's training, a regimen so intense that veterans joke that Roman battles are easier than Roman practice. Your centurion, backed by junior officers called obtues, whose vine staffs can crack skulls as easily as they maintain discipline, puts the century through maneuvers that have been refined through generations of warfare. You practice the testudo, or tortoise formation, where shields lock together to create an impenetrable shell that can advance under arrow fire. You drill the wedge formation used to break enemy lines, and the defensive square that can protect against cavalry attacks from any direction. The training methodology that governs Roman military instruction demonstrates systematic approaches to skill development that create consistent performance under combat stress. Progressive difficulty levels that begin with individual skills and advance through unit coordination ensure that complex maneuvers can be executed automatically when conscious thought becomes impossible during battle. Repetitive practice that creates muscle memory enables tactical responses that function effectively even when soldiers are exhausted, frightened, or wounded, while standardized techniques ensure that units can coordinate effectively regardless of individual variation in strength or ability. The formation training that occupies hours each day prepares Roman units for tactical situations that require precise coordination between large numbers of individual soldiers. Testudo practice that creates mobile shelters enables advances under missile fire that would otherwise cause prohibitive casualties, while wedge formation training develops techniques for breaking enemy lines through coordinated assault. Square formation drilling prepares units for defensive operations against cavalry attacks that require different tactical responses from infantry combat, while line formation practice creates the basic tactical unit that serves as the foundation for all other maneuvers. The sword work that occupies hours each day transforms you from a farmer or craftsman into a killing machine, capable of precise, deadly violence. You practice against wooden posts, learning to thrust rather than slash, to keep your shield up while attacking, to maintain formation, even when wounded comrades fall beside you. The training is repetitive to the point of numbing boredom, but this repetition serves a crucial purpose. When battle madness descends and conscious thought becomes impossible, your body will continue executing the moves that have been drilled into muscle memory through countless hours of practice. The weapons training that develops Roman combat effectiveness demonstrates understanding of motor learning principles that create automatic responses under extreme stress. Individual techniques that coordinate sword, shield, and body movement must be practiced until they become instinctive, eliminating the conscious decision-making that becomes impossible during combat. Partner drills that simulate combat conditions develop timing and distance judgment that enable effective attacks while maintaining defensive protection, while formation training ensures that individual combat skills contribute to unit tactical effectiveness rather than interfering with collective operations. The combat psychology that Roman training develops prepares soldiers for the mental challenges that accompany life and death struggle against enemies who are equally motivated to survive. Aggression training that overcomes natural reluctance to kill human beings creates psychological conditioning that enables effective combat performance, while stress inoculation procedures that expose soldiers to simulated combat conditions reduce the psychological shock that can paralyze inexperienced fighters. Unit cohesion training that creates mutual dependence ensures that soldiers fight to protect their comrades even when personal survival instincts counsel retreat or surrender. The physical conditioning that accompanies weapons training pushes your body beyond anything you thought possible. Roman soldiers must be capable of marching 25 miles in a single day, while carrying 60 pounds of equipment, fighting a battle at the end of the march, then constructing a fortified camp before rest. The training builds not just strength, but the mental toughness necessary to continue functioning when exhaustion threatens to overwhelm determination. You learn that the human body can endure far more than the mind believes possible, and that victory often belongs to whoever can suffer longest while maintaining discipline. The endurance training that prepares Roman soldiers for campaign conditions demonstrates understanding of human physiology that enables peak performance under sustained stress. Cardiovascular conditioning that develops aerobic capacity enables sustained exertion during long marches and extended combat, while strength training that builds muscle endurance prevents fatigue failures during critical tactical operations. Mental conditioning that develops psychological resilience enables continued effective performance even when physical resources approach exhaustion, while pain tolerance training reduces the incapacitating effects of injuries that would disable soldiers lacking similar conditioning. The load-bearing training that prepares soldiers for campaign equipment requirements develops specific adaptations that enable effective performance while carrying equipment that would incapacitate untrained individuals. Gradual weight increases that condition muscles and joints for heavy loads prevent injury while building carrying capacity, while movement training that maintains tactical effectiveness, despite equipment weight, ensures that mobility remains adequate for combat operations. Balance training that compensates for equipment weight distribution enables normal movement patterns that maintain coordination and agility necessary for survival in combat situations. As the morning training ends and the sun climbs toward its zenith, you begin to understand the work details that maintain the legion as a functioning military organization. Roman armies are not just fighting forces but mobile cities, capable of sustaining themselves across vast distances and hostile territories. Every task necessary for survival must be performed by legionaries, from construction and engineering to medical care and equipment maintenance. There are no civilians in a Roman camp, no support personnel who aren't also trained to fight, because the legion must be self-sufficient to operate in regions where local populations are more likely to provide enemies than allies. The logistics systems that support Roman military operations demonstrate organizational capabilities that surpass most contemporary city-states in their complexity and effectiveness. Supply management that coordinates equipment, food, and materials for thousands of individuals requires administrative skills that account for consumption rates, transportation limitations, and storage requirements under field conditions. Personnel management that tracks individual assignments, skills, and status enables optimal utilization of human resources while maintaining unit cohesion and morale. Financial management that accounts for pay, supplies, and equipment costs maintains accountability while enabling operations across distances that prevent direct oversight from Roman authorities. The construction skills that every legionary must master enable Roman armies to create infrastructure that supports military operations while providing permanent improvements to conquered territories. Fortification construction that creates defensive works capable of protecting thousands of men requires engineering knowledge that applies mathematical principles to practical construction problems. Road building that creates transportation networks capable of supporting heavy traffic requires understanding of drainage, grading, and materials that produce permanent infrastructure. Bridge construction that spans rivers and ravines requires structural engineering that creates safe passages for armies and supply trains under challenging conditions. The engineering work that defines much of Roman military life reflects the empire's understanding that battles are won through preparation as much as courage. You learn to construct siege engines, to build bridges that can carry entire armies across rivers, to dig trenches and raise earthworks that can stop cavalry charges. The tools you carry, dolabra, pickaxe, and shovel, are as important as your weapons, because Roman victories often depend more on engineering superiority than individual fighting prowess. Every legionary is expected to be a competent carpenter, mason, and earthworks engineer in addition to being a professional killer. The technical training that develops Roman engineering capabilities demonstrates systematic approaches to skill transfer that enable armies to perform complex construction tasks under field conditions without civilian technical support. Mathematical instruction that teaches geometric principles enables accurate surveying and construction layout, while materials science training that explains wood, stone, and metal properties enables appropriate material selection for different construction applications. Tool usage training that develops proficiency with specialized equipment enables efficient work performance that maximizes productivity while minimizing fatigue and injury. The quality control procedures that govern Roman military construction ensure that engineering projects meet standards that provide reliable performance under combat conditions, inspection protocols that verify structural integrity, prevent construction failures that could prove fatal during enemy attacks, while standardization requirements that ensure consistent dimensions enable interchangeable components that facilitate rapid construction and repair. Testing procedures that verify performance characteristics ensure that fortifications provide adequate protection, while bridges and roads support required loads without failure. The construction of the evening camp, performed every single day regardless of weather or enemy presence, demonstrates Roman discipline at its most impressive. Within hours of stopping the march, 10,000 men transform an empty field into a fortified position, complete with earthworks, palisades, gates, and internal organization that mirrors permanent Roman settlements. Every man knows his assigned task, every tool has its designated use, and the entire operation proceeds with mechanical efficiency that amazes allied observers and terrifies enemies who watch Roman armies materialize seemingly impregnable fortresses from nothing. The camp construction procedures that create Roman field fortifications demonstrate project management capabilities that coordinate thousands of workers in complex tasks that must be completed quickly under potentially dangerous conditions. Task assignments that distribute work according to unit capabilities ensure efficient completion while maintaining security against enemy attack, while quality control procedures ensure that defensive works provide adequate protection. Material procurement that utilizes local resources while maintaining construction standards demonstrates resource management capabilities that enable independent operations in territory lacking civilian infrastructure support. The defensive design principles that govern Roman camp construction create fortifications that maximize protection while minimizing construction time and material requirements. Ditch and rampart systems that channel attacking forces into predetermined killing zones provide defensive advantages that multiply the effectiveness of limited manpower, while gate designs that enable rapid deployment of troops while preventing enemy penetration ensure tactical flexibility. The standardized layouts that characterize Roman camps enable rapid construction while ensuring that every soldier knows the location of essential facilities, regardless of local terrain variations. Your specific duties within this construction process depend on your position within the century's hierarchy, but every task is essential, and every man is held accountable for his contribution. Newer legionaries dig trenches and carry materials, while veterans with specialized skills handle carpentry and earthwork engineering. The centuries compete with each other to complete their assigned sections quickly and well, because Roman commanders understand that pride and competition are powerful motivators when channeled through military discipline. The work assignment systems that distribute construction tasks demonstrate Roman understanding of motivation psychology that maintains high performance levels even during repetitive and physically demanding work. Competition between units that creates pride in accomplishment motivates maximum effort while maintaining quality standards, while rotation of assignments prevents excessive fatigue while ensuring that every individual develops diverse skills. Recognition systems that acknowledge exceptional performance provide advancement opportunities while encouraging continued excellence, while disciplinary procedures that punish substandard work maintain accountability that ensures collective success. The skill development programs that create Roman engineering capabilities transform ordinary farmers and craftsmen into technical specialists capable of complex construction tasks. Progressive training that begins with basic skills and advances through increasingly complex applications enables mastery that produces reliable performance under field conditions. Cross-training that teaches multiple specialties ensures unit effectiveness, even when individual specialists are killed or wounded, while quality certification procedures that verify competence enable appropriate task assignments that maximize efficiency while maintaining safety. As afternoon progresses toward evening, you begin to appreciate the medical challenges that face any military organization operating far from Roman hospitals and trained physicians. Combat injuries are only part of the problem facing Roman armies. Diseases spread rapidly through camps where thousands of men live in close quarters. Accidents occur frequently when heavy equipment is moved by tired soldiers, and the constant physical stress of military life creates injuries that would be minor inconveniences in civilian life, but can become crippling disabilities for fighting men. The medical care provided by the legion reflects Roman practicality rather than compassion, focusing on treatments that return men to fighting condition as quickly as possible. The valetudinarium, or field hospital, is staffed by capsari medics who have learnt their skills through battlefield experience rather than formal training. These men can set broken bones, suture wounds, and treat infections using techniques that represent the most advanced military medicine available anywhere in the ancient world. But their primary concern is maintaining unit strength rather than individual comfort, and men who cannot be returned to duty quickly are often discharged from service regardless of their previous contributions. The medical procedures that Roman military medicine employs demonstrate systematic approaches to trauma care that save lives while maintaining unit combat readiness. Wound assessment techniques that prioritize treatment based on survival probability and return to duty potential enable optimal use of limited medical resources, while surgical procedures that repair injuries quickly without extensive recovery periods maintain personnel availability. Pain management techniques that enable continued function despite injury allow soldiers to remain effective even when suffering from wounds that would incapacitate civilians, while infection prevention procedures reduce casualties from diseases that often prove more deadly than combat injuries. The medical training that creates Roman military healthcare providers demonstrates systematic approaches to knowledge transfer that enable effective treatment under field conditions. Apprenticeship programs that combine theoretical instruction with practical experience develop competence that produces reliable results under stress, while standardized procedures that specify treatment protocols ensure consistent quality regardless of individual variation in training or experience. Supply systems that provide necessary medical materials enable effective treatment even during extended operations in territory lacking civilian medical infrastructure, while evacuation procedures that move seriously injured personnel to appropriate treatment facilities maintain unit effectiveness while preserving valuable human resources. The evening meal provides the first real food of the day, a welcome relief from the morning's hard biscuits and sour wine. Roman armies carry livestock when possible, and the evening cooking fires produce stews of beef or pork supplemented with whatever vegetables can be obtained through foraging or purchase from local populations. The meal is prepared by the contubernium using techniques that maximize nutrition while minimizing cooking time and fuel consumption. You eat from simple pottery bowls using bread as both food and utensil, a practice that reduces the weight of eating implements while providing additional calories. The cooking procedures that Roman soldiers employ demonstrate practical skills that enable nutrition preparation under conditions that lack civilian conveniences. Fuel management techniques that maximize heat while conserving scarce combustible materials enable adequate cooking while preventing waste, while pot management procedures that prevent burning ensure that limited food supplies provide maximum nutrition. Seasoning techniques that improve palatability using available materials make monotonous rations more acceptable, while preservation methods that extend food storage life reduce waste while ensuring adequate supplies during extended operations. The nutrition planning that governs Roman military meals demonstrates understanding of dietary science that maintains soldier health during sustained physical stress. Protein requirements that support muscle maintenance during heavy physical labor are met through meat and dairy products when available, while carbohydrate needs that provide energy for marching and combat come from grain products that store well during transport. Vitamin requirements that prevent diseases common to military populations are addressed through vegetable supplements when obtainable, while mineral needs that support bone strength and muscle function are provided through diverse food sources that prevent deficiency diseases. The social dynamics that emerge during evening meals reveal the complex relationships that bind Roman military units together. Your contubernium functions as a surrogate family, with older soldiers serving as mentors to newer recruits, while maintaining the discipline necessary for military effectiveness. Conversations range from technical discussions of equipment maintenance to stories of previous campaigns, all serving to build the unit cohesion that Roman commanders understand is essential for battlefield success. These men will literally die for each other, not out of abstract patriotism, but because of personal bonds forged through shared hardship and mutual dependence. The mentorship systems that develop within Roman military units demonstrate understanding of knowledge transfer that creates competence while maintaining discipline and unit cohesion. Senior soldiers who share experience and skills with junior personnel provide training that supplements formal instruction while creating personal relationships that strengthen unit bonds. Informal leadership that emerges from demonstrated competence provides tactical guidance that improves unit effectiveness while maintaining official command structures, while peer support systems that provide mutual assistance during difficult periods maintain morale and individual effectiveness that contributes to collective success. The cultural transmission that occurs during social interactions preserves Roman values and traditions while adapting them to military conditions that require modifications of civilian practices. Stories that preserve unit history create institutional memory that maintains standards and traditions across changes in personnel, while discussions of tactical techniques preserve and refine military knowledge through collective analysis of combat experience. Social rituals that reinforce group identity create cohesion that transcends individual differences while maintaining the discipline necessary for military effectiveness under extreme stress. The evening's equipment maintenance session demonstrates the Roman understanding that victory depends as much on logistics as tactics. Every piece of equipment receives daily attention, from sharpening sword blades and cleaning armor, to repairing sandals and waterproofing leather goods. This maintenance is not optional, or left to personal preference. Equipment failures can mean death in combat, and commanders hold every man responsible for keeping his gear in fighting condition. The communal aspect of this work reinforces unit bonds, while ensuring that no legionary faces battle with defective equipment. The maintenance procedures that preserve Roman military equipment demonstrate systematic approaches to preventive care that ensure reliable performance under combat conditions. Weapon maintenance that keeps cutting edges sharp while preventing structural failure requires metalworking skills that restore equipment to combat-ready condition, while armor maintenance that prevents rust and structural damage ensures protection that can save lives during battle. Tool maintenance that keeps construction equipment functional enables engineering work that provides tactical advantages, while clothing maintenance that preserves protective garments ensures comfort and health that maintain individual effectiveness during extended operations. The supply systems that provide maintenance materials demonstrate logistical capabilities that enable self-sufficiency during extended operations in territory lacking civilian infrastructure. Material procurement that obtains necessary supplies through military channels ensures availability regardless of local conditions, while quality control procedures that verify material standards ensure that repairs restore equipment to original specifications. Inventory management that tracks supplies and consumption enables planning that prevents shortages while minimizing excess inventory that could limit mobility, while distribution systems that allocate materials according to need ensure that maintenance requirements are met throughout the organization. As darkness falls and the camp settles into evening routines, you begin to understand the military justice system that maintains discipline within the legion. Roman military law is harsh by any standard, reflecting the understanding that armies operating far from home must maintain order through fear as much as loyalty. Punishments range from extra duties for minor infractions to decimation, the execution of every 10th man in units that show cowardice for serious military crimes. The certainty and severity of punishment creates a disciplinary environment where following orders becomes an automatic response rather than a conscious choice. The legal procedures that govern Roman military justice demonstrate systematic approaches to maintaining discipline while ensuring fairness that maintains morale and unit cohesion. Investigation procedures that determine facts while protecting against false accusations ensure that punishment serves justice rather than personal vendetta, while standardized penalties that specify consequences for different offenses provide predictable results that enable rational decision-making. Appeals procedures that review decisions while maintaining command authority ensure that justice serves unit effectiveness while protecting against abuse, while record-keeping systems that document proceedings maintain accountability while preserving institutional memory. The disciplinary psychology that Roman military law employs demonstrates understanding of motivation and behavior modification that creates compliance while maintaining effectiveness. Deterrent effects that prevent misconduct through fear of consequences create behavioral patterns that support unit discipline, while rehabilitation procedures that restore offenders to useful service maximize human resources while maintaining standards. Public punishment that demonstrates consequences while reinforcing behavioral expectations creates social pressure that supplements official enforcement, while mercy procedures that recognize exceptional circumstances maintain flexibility while preserving command authority. The religious observances that punctuate Roman military life reveal the empire's understanding that soldiers need spiritual as well as physical sustenance. The legion's standards, golden eagles and other symbols are treated as sacred objects whose loss brings eternal shame to the unit. Religious ceremonies honor gods of war while maintaining traditions that connect soldiers to their Roman identity, even when fighting thousands of miles from home. These rituals serve practical psychological purposes, providing comfort and unit identity while reinforcing the cultural superiority that motivates Roman expansion. The religious practices that Roman armies maintain demonstrate understanding of psychological needs that require spiritual satisfaction, in addition to physical care. Daily observances that honor protective deities provide comfort and confidence that improve individual morale while reinforcing cultural identity, while ceremonial activities that celebrate unit achievements create pride and cohesion that strengthen military effectiveness. Festival observances that maintain connections to civilian traditions provide psychological continuity that reduces the isolation and stress that can undermine morale during extended military service. While battlefield rituals that honor fallen comrades provide closure that enables continued effective function despite traumatic losses. The sacred objects that focus Roman military religious practices demonstrate understanding of symbolic psychology that creates emotional connections to abstract concepts through concrete representations. Legion standards that embody unit honor and tradition provide focal points for loyalty that transcend individual self-interest, while religious images that represent protective deities create confidence that supernatural forces support military efforts. Ceremonial weapons and armor that commemorate significant victories provide tangible connections to unit history that inspire continued excellence, while sacred texts that preserve religious traditions maintain cultural continuity that strengthens identity and morale during extended separation from civilian communities. The military chaplaincy that provides spiritual guidance demonstrates systematic approaches to addressing psychological needs that affect combat effectiveness. Religious personnel, who understand both military requirements and spiritual traditions, provide counseling that addresses fears and anxieties while maintaining combat readiness, while ceremonial leadership that conducts religious observances maintains traditions that provide comfort and unit identity. Moral guidance that addresses ethical conflicts inherent in military service provides psychological frameworks that enable effective performance while maintaining personal integrity, while grief counseling that helps soldiers cope with combat losses maintains mental health that supports continued military effectiveness. Sleep, when it finally comes, offers little respite from the demands of military life. The watch schedule ensures that someone is always alert for enemy attacks, while the close quarters of tent life mean that every snore, cough, or movement disturbs your tent mates. You learn to sleep lightly, always ready to respond to alarm calls that can come at any hour. The ground beneath your blanket remains hard. The air continues to carry the smells of 10,000 men living in close quarters, and your dreams, when they come, are often filled with the sounds and images of training exercises that will determine whether you live or die in the battles ahead. The sleep management systems that Roman armies employ demonstrate understanding of rest requirements that maintain effectiveness while ensuring security during vulnerable periods. Watch rotation schedules that distribute guard duties fairly prevent excessive fatigue while ensuring continuous alertness, while noise discipline that minimizes unnecessary disturbance enables maximum rest during limited sleep periods. Sleep hygiene practices that optimize rest quality within constraints of military conditions maintain health and alertness that support combat effectiveness, while emergency response procedures that enable rapid mobilization during night attacks ensure security while preserving rest opportunities. The psychological adaptation that soldiers develop to cope with sleep disruption demonstrates human resilience that enables function under conditions that would incapacitate untrained individuals. Fragmented sleep patterns that maximize rest during brief periods develop naturally through experience with military conditions, while mental discipline that controls anxiety and racing thoughts enables sleep despite stress and uncertainty. Relaxation techniques that reduce physical tension enable rest on hard surfaces and in uncomfortable positions, while emotional regulation that manages fears and concerns prevents insomnia that could undermine effectiveness and endanger both individual and unit survival. The night sounds of a Roman camp create their own distinctive atmosphere, a mixture of familiar and threatening elements that perfectly captures the duality of military life. Guards call out passwords and challenge approaching figures, horses stamp and whicker in their picket lines, and the distant sounds of weapons being sharpened remind everyone that tomorrow will bring new challenges requiring deadly responses. Yet within this threatening environment, the organized nature of Roman camp life provides a sense of security that comes from knowing that everything has been planned, prepared, and practiced until it approaches perfection. The acoustic environment that characterizes Roman military installations demonstrates the sensory aspects of military life that affect morale and psychological adaptation. Familiar sounds that indicate normal operations provide comfort and security that enable rest and relaxation during off-duty periods, while alarm signals that indicate danger create immediate alertness that enables rapid response to threats. The sound discipline that prevents unnecessary noise reduces security risks while maintaining comfort levels that support morale. while communication sounds that maintain contact between units provide reassurance that support is available during emergencies. The security procedures that protect Roman camps during darkness demonstrate systematic approaches to threat management that enable rest while maintaining protection against enemy attacks. Perimeter guards who monitor approaches while maintaining stealth prevent surprise attacks, while avoiding unnecessary alarm, while internal patrols that check security within the camp ensure that saboteurs or infiltrators cannot operate undetected. Challenge and password systems that identify authorized personnel prevent confusion while maintaining security, while alarm procedures that rapidly mobilize defensive forces ensure effective response to threats, while minimizing disruption to necessary rest periods. The psychological adaptation required for Roman military life transforms recruits in ways that extend far beyond simple physical toughness. You learn to suppress individual desires in favor of group needs, to follow orders without question even when they seem pointless or dangerous, to maintain discipline under conditions that would break civilian morale. The process is deliberately harsh because Roman commanders understand that men who cannot adapt to military discipline will fail when combat stress exceeds anything experienced in training. The legion functions as a crucible that either forges reliable soldiers or eliminates those unsuited for military service. The psychological conditioning that creates Roman soldiers demonstrates understanding of behavioral modification that produces reliable performance under extreme stress. Stress inoculation that exposes recruits to progressively more challenging conditions develops resilience that enables function under combat pressure, while authority conditioning that creates automatic obedience reduces decision-making delays that could prove fatal during tactical operations. Social conditioning that bonds individuals to units creates motivations that override self-preservation instincts, while identity conditioning that replaces civilian self-concepts with military identity creates psychological commitment that sustains performance during extended hardship. The mental health management that maintains psychological effectiveness demonstrates systematic approaches to preventing and treating conditions that could undermine military performance. Counseling procedures that address adjustment problems help individuals adapt to military conditions while maintaining unit cohesion, while intervention techniques that identify and treat serious psychological problems prevent individual breakdown that could endanger unit effectiveness. Social support systems that provide emotional assistance during difficult periods maintain morale while preventing isolation that could lead to desertion or self-harm, while recreational activities that provide relief from stress maintain mental health that supports sustained effectiveness. The hierarchy that governs every aspect of Roman military life reflects the empire's understanding that effective armies require clear command structures and unquestioned authority. From the lowliest recruit to the legion's legate, every man knows his place, his duties, and his relationship to every other member of the organization. This hierarchy is not based on birth or wealth, but on demonstrated competence in military skills, creating opportunities for advancement, while maintaining the discipline essential for battlefield effectiveness. Centurions, the backbone of Roman military leadership, have typically risen from the ranks through proven ability rather than political connections. The leadership development that creates Roman military commanders demonstrates systematic approaches to identifying and training competent officers who can function effectively under combat conditions. Selection procedures that identify individuals with leadership potential focus on demonstrated ability rather than social connections, while training programs that develop tactical and administrative skills prepare officers for progressively more complex responsibilities. Experience requirements that ensure practical competence before promotion prevent incompetent leadership that could prove fatal during combat, while continuing education that updates skills and knowledge maintains effectiveness as military techniques and requirements evolve. The command relationships that govern Roman military hierarchies create authority structures that enable effective coordination while maintaining flexibility necessary for tactical adaptation. Clear chains of command that specify authority and responsibility prevent confusion during critical operations, while delegation procedures that distribute decision-making authority enable rapid response to changing tactical situations. Communication protocols that ensure information flow between command levels maintain situational awareness that enables effective leadership, while accountability systems that track performance maintain standards while identifying individuals suitable for advancement. As you drift toward an uneasy sleep on ground that seems designed to punish comfort seekers, you begin to understand why Roman legions have proven superior to every enemy they've encountered. The discipline that governs every moment of daily life creates soldiers who function as components in a military machine, rather than individuals seeking personal glory. The The training that occupies every spare hour ensures that complex maneuvers can be executed under combat stress when conscious thought becomes impossible. The logistics that supply the Legion enable operations at distances that would defeat armies dependent on local resources. The systematic integration that characterizes Roman military development transforms individual recruits into components of organizational systems that function with mechanical precision. Personal identity that becomes subordinated to unit identity creates psychological commitment that ensures reliable performance even under extreme stress, while individual skills that become coordinated with collective capabilities create tactical effectiveness that exceeds the sum of individual contributions. Training standardization that creates predictable responses enables coordination between units that have never operated together, while equipment standardization that creates interchangeable components enables logistical efficiency that supports extended operations across vast distances. The institutional memory that preserves Roman military knowledge ensures that lessons learned through combat experience benefit future generations of soldiers. Training procedures that codify successful techniques preserve tactical knowledge that might otherwise be lost when experienced personnel retire or die, while written records that document organizational procedures maintained administrative efficiency across changes in leadership. Historical accounts that preserve unit achievements create traditions that inspire excellence while providing examples of successful adaptation to challenging conditions, while technical manuals that explain equipment and procedures ensure consistent performance regardless of individual variation in training or experience. The morning will bring more of the same: inspection, training, work details, equipment maintenance, and the gradual transformation of civilians into professional soldiers capable of conquering the world. But tonight, as you listen to the sounds of guards walking their posts and wonder what battles await in the misty forests of Gaul, remember that you are becoming part of something larger and more deadly than any military force the world has ever seen. The eagles of Rome cast long shadows, and tomorrow you will help extend those shadows across another day's march toward an enemy that has never faced anything like the disciplined fury of a Roman legion. The transformation process that converts civilians into Roman soldiers demonstrates human adaptability that enables extraordinary achievement through systematic development of capabilities that exceed normal human limitations. Physical conditioning that develops strength and endurance beyond civilian requirements creates capabilities that enable performance under conditions that would incapacitate untrained individuals, while mental conditioning that develops discipline and resilience creates psychological strength that enables continued function despite fear and stress. Social conditioning that creates unit loyalty and mutual dependence transforms individual self-interest into collective commitment that motivates performance that transcends personal survival instincts, while technical conditioning that develops military skills creates competence that enables effective performance of complex tasks under extreme pressure. The institutional culture that defines Roman military life creates environments that support human development, while channeling individual potential toward collective achievement. Value systems that emphasize duty, honor, and service create motivational frameworks that inspire excellence while maintaining discipline, while reward systems that recognize achievement provide incentives for continued improvement while maintaining standards. Tradition systems that connect current personnel to historical achievements create pride and identity that strengthen commitment while providing examples of successful adaptation to challenging conditions, while social systems that provide mutual support maintain morale and effectiveness, while preventing isolation that could undermine individual performance. Sleep now, knowing that tomorrow will bring new challenges that will test every aspect of your developing capabilities, but also new opportunities to prove yourself worthy of the eagles that represent the greatest military achievement in human history. The ground remains hard, the night air continues to carry the sounds and smells of military life, but you rest with the knowledge that you are becoming part of something that will reshape the world through disciplined application of human potential towards that transcend individual limitation and create lasting achievement that serves purposes greater than personal survival or comfort. Dream, if you can, of the roads you will build, the cities you will found, the laws you will establish, and the civilization you will create through patient application of the discipline that makes Roman soldiers superior to any enemy they encounter. The transformation that turns farmers into legionaries also turns conquest into construction, destruction into creation, and individual ambition into collective achievement, that benefits generations who will inherit what disciplined effort can accomplish when directed toward worthy goals that honor human potential, while serving needs that transcend personal limitation and temporary advantage. Chapter 2: The Iron Discipline that Forged an Empire. Let your mind drift forward now, from the harsh initiation of recruit training to a moment when individual soldiers have been transformed into components of the most sophisticated military organization the ancient world has ever produced. The year is 57 BCE, and you march with Legio X as part of Caesar's massive campaign against the Belgae, no longer the uncertain recruit who trembled at Centurion's commands, but a seasoned legionary who moves in perfect synchronization with 60,000 other men across the rolling hills of northern Gaul. Close your eyes and feel the rhythmic thud of hobnailed sandals on ancient roads. Hear the metallic symphony of equipment that has been refined through generations of conquest, and smell the dust of an empire extending its reach into lands that have never known Roman discipline. You are witnessing the Roman military machine at its most impressive, an organizational achievement that transforms ordinary men into an unstoppable force of conquest through systems and procedures that have been perfected over centuries of warfare. This is no longer a collection of individual warriors seeking personal glory, but a coordinated instrument of imperial policy that can march for months across hostile territory, fight battles that decide the fate of nations, and establish Roman authority over populations that have never submitted to any foreign power. The legion that surrounds you represents the culmination of Roman military thinking, a synthesis of discipline, engineering, and tactical innovation that no contemporary civilization can match. The marching formation that carries your legion across Gaul reflects Roman understanding that movement is warfare, and that armies capable of strategic mobility possess decisive advantages over enemies tied to fixed positions. The column stretches for miles, with cavalry scouts ranging ahead to identify threats and obstacles, engineers clearing paths and repairing roads, supply trains protected within the formation, and rear guards watching for pursuit by enemies who might attempt to attack the column's most vulnerable elements. Every man knows his position, his responsibilities during march and halt, and his role in the defensive formations that can be deployed within minutes if the column comes under attack. The road discipline that governs this massive movement demonstrates Roman organizational superiority at its most practical level. Units maintain precise spacing that allows rapid deployment while preventing dangerous congestion. Speeds are regulated to ensure that the strongest units don't outdistance slower elements, and rest periods are synchronized to prevent the confusion that would result if different units stopped at different times. The entire operation proceeds with mechanical precision that amazes Allied observers and provides psychological advantages over enemies who watch Roman armies move across their territory with unstoppable determination. The engineering capabilities that support Roman strategic mobility represent technological achievements that won't be matched for centuries. Pioneer units clear obstacles, repair bridges, and improve roads to ensure that the legion can maintain marching speeds regardless of local conditions. When existing roads prove inadequate, Roman engineers construct new ones according to specifications that will serve imperial communications long after the armies have moved on. These roads, built to military standards, become permanent infrastructure that facilitates trade, administration, and future military operations throughout the expanding empire. The surveying techniques that Roman engineers employ demonstrate mathematical precision that enables accurate navigation across vast territories without reliable maps or established landmarks. Using instruments that measure angles and distances with remarkable accuracy, Roman surveyors can determine positions and directions that allow armies to maintain course toward objectives hundreds of miles away. The surveying knowledge that supports road construction also enables the precise camp layouts that characterize Roman military organization, ensuring that every installation follows specifications that maximize efficiency while minimizing construction time and resource requirements. The construction standards that govern Roman road building reflect understanding of engineering principles that create infrastructure capable of supporting heavy traffic for centuries. The layered construction that begins with carefully prepared foundations and progresses through multiple levels of stone and gravel creates surfaces that drain properly while supporting the weight of supply wagons and artillery. The engineering specifications that determine road width, gradient, and alignment account for military requirements while creating transportation networks that serve civilian purposes long after military campaigns have ended. The logistics system that sustains Roman armies during extended campaigns reflects understanding of supply relationships that escape less sophisticated military organizations. The legion carries enough supplies for several days of independent operation, but longer campaigns require coordination with supply trains that follow predetermined routes to predetermined meeting points. Local procurement supplements carried supplies through systems that balance military needs with political considerations. Roman commanders understand that armies that devastate their own territories create more problems than they solve, while those that maintain local support can operate at greater distances for longer periods. The supply trains that follow Roman armies represent marvels of ancient logistics, organized according to principles that won't be improved upon for over a millennium. Wagons carry standardized loads that can be quickly distributed to units that need resupply, while pack animals provide mobility that allows supplies to reach forces operating in terrain unsuitable for wheeled vehicles. The entire system operates according to schedules that coordinate with military operations, ensuring that supplies arrive where needed when needed, regardless of the tactical situation that develops during active campaigning. The standardization that characterizes Roman military supplies provides practical advantages that extend far beyond simple logistics efficiency. Standardized weapons mean that ammunition and replacement parts remain interchangeable across different units, while uniform equipment specifications allow field repairs using materials salvaged from casualties. The standardized rations that feed Roman armies provide predictable nutrition while simplifying supply calculations, and the uniform quality of military equipment ensures that tactical performance remains consistent regardless of which manufacturers produce specific items. The intelligence network that supports Roman strategic planning provides commanders with information about enemy capabilities, intentions, and vulnerabilities that enable decisive tactical and strategic advantages. Scouts and spies gather information through methods ranging from direct observation to interrogation of prisoners and deserters, while diplomatic contacts provide political intelligence about relationships between enemy tribes and the internal conflicts that Roman commanders can exploit. This information flows through communication systems that allow strategic decisions to be made with unprecedented understanding of local conditions. The reconnaissance procedures that Roman armies employ demonstrate systematic approaches to information gathering that provide tactical advantages over enemies who depend on less organized intelligence methods. Cavalry patrols probe enemy positions while avoiding decisive engagement, gathering information about enemy strength, disposition, and movement that enables Roman commanders to choose when and where battles are fought. The intelligence gathered through reconnaissance operations is systematically analyzed and transmitted to commanders who use it to refine tactical and strategic planning according to actual rather than assumed enemy capabilities. The communication systems that coordinate Roman military operations across vast territories enable strategic control over forces dispersed across multiple theaters of operation. Courier networks carry written orders and reports between commanders and their superiors, while signal techniques allow tactical coordination during battles and emergencies. The efficiency of Roman military communications provides decisive advantages over enemies whose armies lose coordination once they move beyond visual or audible contact with their commanders, enabling Roman forces to execute complex operations that require precise timing and coordination between widely separated units. The encryption techniques that protect sensitive Roman military communications demonstrate understanding of information security that exceeds anything achieved by contemporary civilizations. Important messages are encoded using methods that prevent enemy interception from compromising operational plans, while multiple courier routes ensure that critical information reaches its destination, even if individual messengers are captured or killed. The communication security procedures that govern Roman military operations provide intelligence advantages that often prove more decisive than superior equipment or training in determining campaign outcomes. As the legion moves deeper into Belgae territory, you begin to understand the tactical innovations that make Roman infantry superior to any enemy they encounter. The manipular system that governed earlier Roman armies has been refined into cohort organization that provides greater flexibility while maintaining the disciplinary advantages that characterize Roman forces. Each cohort functions as a complete tactical unit, capable of independent operations, while retaining the ability to coordinate with other cohorts in larger formations that can adapt to any battlefield situation. The cohort structure itself represents a masterpiece of military organization that balances flexibility with control in ways that no contemporary army can match. Each unit contains enough men to hold significant sections of battlefield frontage, while remaining small enough to maneuver quickly and maintain internal communications during combat. The standardization of cohort organization means that units can be combined or separated according to tactical requirements, while the hierarchy of command ensures that complex operations can be coordinated across entire armies without losing effectiveness at the individual unit level. The tactical flexibility that cohort organization provides enables Roman commanders to adapt their battle plans to local conditions and enemy capabilities in ways that rigid formations cannot achieve. Cohorts can operate independently during reconnaissance and pursuit operations, combine into larger formations for major battles, or divide into smaller units for specialized missions that require capabilities different from standard infantry operations. This tactical adaptability gives Roman armies decisive advantages over enemies whose military organization lacks similar flexibility, allowing Roman commanders to exploit weaknesses while avoiding enemy strengths. The centurionet system that provides leadership for Roman tactical units reflects the empire's understanding that effective armies require competent officers who combine professional skill with personal authority over subordinates. Centurions have typically risen through ranks based on demonstrated ability in combat leadership, tactical thinking, and unit administration. These men possess the technical knowledge necessary to execute complex maneuvers while maintaining the personal relationships with their soldiers that ensure orders will be followed even under extreme combat stress. The result is a leadership system that provides both tactical competence and battlefield inspiration. The promotion procedures that create Roman military leaders demonstrate the merit-based system that distinguishes Roman armies from forces that depend on hereditary or political leadership. Advancement through Roman military ranks requires demonstrated competence in progressively more complex responsibilities, from individual combat skills to small unit leadership to major tactical command. The training programs that prepare officers for higher responsibilities ensure that promotion reflects actual capability rather than social connections, creating military hierarchies where competence rather than birth determines authority and responsibility. The training regimen that maintains Roman tactical superiority continues even during active campaigns, ensuring that skills remain sharp and new techniques can be integrated into existing procedures. Daily drills reinforce the muscle memory that allows complex formations to be executed automatically during combat, while specialized training prepares units for specific tactical situations they may encounter. This continuous training serves psychological as well as practical purposes, maintaining unit confidence while providing familiar routines that reduce the stress of operating in hostile territory. The weapons training that occupies hours each day transforms individual soldiers into components of tactical systems that function with mechanical precision. Sword work emphasizes thrusting attacks that penetrate armor while maintaining formation integrity, while shield work teaches defensive techniques that protect both individual soldiers and unit cohesion. The pilum training that prepares soldiers for javelin combat focuses on accuracy and timing that maximizes the weapon's tactical effectiveness, while the coordination training that integrates different weapon systems creates tactical capabilities that exceed the sum of individual skills. The formation drills that consume significant training time prepare Roman units to execute complex maneuvers under combat conditions that make conscious thought impossible. The testudo formation that protects advancing troops against missile fire requires precise coordination that can only be achieved through endless repetition, while the wedge formations used to break enemy lines demand individual discipline that subordinates personal survival to tactical effectiveness. The defensive squares that protect against cavalry attacks must be formed quickly under extreme pressure, making drill training essential for tactical survival. The equipment standardization that characterizes Roman military organization provides practical advantages that extend far beyond simple logistics. Standardized weapons mean that training techniques remain consistent across different units, while interchangeable armor components allow field repairs using materials salvaged from casualties. The uniformity of Roman military equipment creates psychological effects on both enemies and allies. Enemies see organized, professional forces rather than armed mobs, while allies gain confidence from association with obviously superior military technology. The maintenance procedures that keep Roman equipment in fighting condition demonstrate understanding of the relationship between logistics and combat effectiveness that distinguishes professional armies from amateur forces. Daily equipment inspection ensures that weapons remain sharp and armor remains intact, while systematic maintenance prevents equipment failures that could prove fatal during combat. The repair techniques that restore damaged equipment using field expedient methods maintain unit combat readiness even during extended campaigns that operate far from manufacturing centers and supply depots. The medical system that supports Roman military operations reflects understanding of the relationship between unit health and combat effectiveness that escapes most ancient armies. Field hospitals established at permanent camps provide surgical care for serious injuries, while medical personnel attached to individual units treat minor injuries and illnesses that could develop into serious problems if neglected. The emphasis on preventive medicine, including camp sanitation and water purification, reduces disease casualties that often destroy armies more effectively than enemy weapons. The surgical techniques that Roman military medicine employs represent the most advanced trauma care available in the ancient world, developed through centuries of battlefield experience treating combat injuries. Roman military surgeons can perform operations that save lives lost to blood loss, infection, and traumatic injuries, while their understanding of anatomy enables surgical procedures that restore function as well as preserve life. The medical training that creates military surgeons combines theoretical knowledge with practical experience that produces capabilities unavailable to civilian medical practitioners. The hospital organization that supports Roman medical care demonstrates systematic approaches to healthcare that won't be matched for centuries. Military hospitals include specialized facilities for different types of medical treatment, from surgical theaters, equipped for major operations, to convalescent wards that provide long-term care for soldiers recovering from serious injuries. The medical records that track patient treatment enable systematic study of medical techniques, while ensuring continuity of care when patients are transferred between different medical facilities. As evening approaches, and the legion prepares to establish another fortified camp, you witness the engineering skills that make Roman armies capable of operating indefinitely in hostile territory. The camp construction that begins immediately upon halt follows procedures that have been refined through generations of campaign experience. Within hours, 60,000 men transform an empty field into a fortified city, complete with defensive works, internal organization, and logistical facilities that would take civilian populations months to construct using traditional building methods. The fortification techniques employed in Roman camp construction represent military engineering at its most practical level. The ditch and rampart system provides defense against both infantry and cavalry attacks while requiring only tools and materials that armies carry as standard equipment. The palisade construction utilizes techniques that create effective obstacles using local timber and standardized components that can be quickly assembled by soldiers who have practiced these procedures countless times. The result is defensive works that can withstand serious attacks while requiring minimal time and resources to construct. The standardization that governs Roman camp construction ensures that every installation follows specifications that maximize both military effectiveness and construction efficiency. The camp layout that positions different units according to predetermined plans allows rapid deployment during emergencies, while facilitating the internal organization necessary for administrative and logistical functions. The standardized dimensions that determine camp size and internal organization mean that soldiers know the location of essential facilities, regardless of local terrain or tactical circumstances. The internal organization of Roman camps reflects understanding of the relationship between military efficiency and physical layout that won't be matched until modern times. The Principia occupies the central position that allows commanders to communicate with all parts of the camp, while unit areas are positioned to facilitate rapid deployment during emergencies. Streets wide enough for military vehicles ensure that supplies can be moved efficiently, while the standardized layout means that every soldier knows the location of essential facilities regardless of local terrain or tactical situation. The defensive features that protect Roman camps demonstrate engineering capabilities that exceed anything attempted by contemporary armies. The ditch systems that surround Roman installations are designed to channel attacking forces into killing zones covered by defensive weapons, while the ramparts that protect camp perimeters can withstand assault by any contemporary siege equipment. The gates that control access to Roman camps incorporate defensive features that allow rapid deployment of troops while preventing enemy penetration even if outer defenses are breached. The administrative systems that govern Roman military operations represent organizational achievements that surpass anything attempted by contemporary civilizations. Record-keeping tracks the status of individual soldiers, unit equipment, and supply situations with precision that allows commanders to make informed decisions about tactical deployments and strategic planning. Personnel management ensures that promotions, transfers, and disciplinary actions maintain unit effectiveness, while providing advancement opportunities that motivate exceptional performance. Financial administration manages the complex logistics of paying, feeding, and equipping armies operating thousands of miles from Roman treasuries. The clerical procedures that support Roman military administration demonstrate understanding of information management that enables coordination of activities across unprecedented scales of organization. Written orders ensure that complex instructions are transmitted accurately, Despite the distances and communication delays that characterize large-scale military operations, while systematic record-keeping provides commanders with information necessary for strategic planning and tactical decision-making, the administrative efficiency that characterizes Roman military operations provides decisive advantages over enemies whose armies lose coordination when they exceed the capacity for personal command and control. The communication networks that coordinate Roman military operations enable strategic control over forces dispersed across vast territories. Courier systems carry written orders and reports between commanders and their superiors, while signal techniques allow tactical coordination during battles and emergencies. The efficiency of Roman military communications provides decisive advantages over enemies whose armies lose coordination once they move beyond visual or audible contact with their commanders. This communication superiority enables Roman forces to execute complex operations that require precise timing and coordination between widely separated units. The intelligence analysis that supports Roman strategic planning transforms raw information into actionable knowledge that enables decisive tactical and strategic advantages. The systematic evaluation of information gathered through reconnaissance, interrogation, and diplomatic contacts produces assessments of enemy capabilities and intentions that guide Roman military planning. The intelligence procedures that analyze enemy strengths and weaknesses enable Roman commanders to choose objectives and methods that maximize advantages while minimizing risks, creating systematic approaches to warfare that consistently produce favorable outcomes. The siege capabilities that Roman armies developed during Gallic campaigns represent engineering achievements that revolutionize ancient warfare. The construction of siege engines, including catapults, ballistae, and towers, requires specialized knowledge that Roman military engineers have acquired through systematic study of techniques developed by Greek and Hellenistic armies. But Roman innovations improve upon existing designs while developing new approaches that reflect Roman emphasis on reliability and standardization rather than technical sophistication for its own sake. The artillery systems that Roman armies employ demonstrate engineering capabilities that exceed anything available to contemporary forces. Roman catapults and ballistae are designed for accuracy and reliability, rather than maximum power, creating weapons systems that can be operated effectively by soldiers with standard military training, rather than specialized technical education. The standardized construction of Roman artillery enables rapid repair and replacement of damaged equipment, while the systematic training of artillery crews ensures consistent performance regardless of individual skill levels. The siege techniques that Roman armies employ against Gallic oppida demonstrate the systematic approach that characterizes Roman military thinking. Rather than relying on direct assault or simple blockade, Roman commanders coordinate multiple approaches that include undermining walls, constructing approach works, and establishing circumvallations that prevent enemy reinforcement while protecting besieging forces. These techniques require engineering skills that most armies don't possess, but they provide virtually guaranteed success against fortifications that can't be captured through conventional methods. The engineering innovation that emerges from Roman siege operations creates new technologies and techniques that influence military development for centuries. The construction methods developed for siege equipment improve Roman capabilities in building bridges, roads, and permanent fortifications, while the mathematical principles applied to siege warfare advance Roman understanding of engineering and physics. The systematic documentation of successful siege techniques creates technical knowledge that can be transmitted to future generations of Roman engineers and military commanders. The psychological warfare that accompanies Roman military operations reflects understanding of the relationship between enemy morale and battlefield effectiveness that gives Roman armies decisive advantages before combat begins. The reputation for invincibility that precedes Roman forces often persuades enemies to surrender rather than face destruction, while the systematic nature of Roman conquest demonstrates that resistance is ultimately futile. This psychological dominance is carefully cultivated through demonstrations of Roman military capabilities and the consistent follow-through on threats and promises that establishes Roman credibility with both enemies and allies. The propaganda techniques that Roman commanders employ demonstrate sophisticated understanding of the psychological factors that determine enemy willingness to resist Roman expansion. The treatment of surrendering enemies provides incentives for cooperation, while the punishment of continued resistance creates deterrent effects that influence other potential enemies. The systematic nature of Roman rewards and punishments establishes patterns that enable enemies to make rational calculations about the costs and benefits of resistance versus submission, often leading to surrender before battles are fought. The integration of auxiliary forces into Roman military operations demonstrates the empire's ability to adapt local military traditions to Roman organizational requirements. Gallic cavalry, German infantry, and specialists from various allied tribes serve alongside Roman legionaries in roles that utilize their particular skills while maintaining overall Roman command and control. This integration process transforms potential enemies into valuable military assets while providing Roman armies with capabilities that pure Roman forces might lack. The auxiliary recruitment procedures that incorporate conquered populations into Roman military forces demonstrate systematic approaches to converting enemies into allies through military service that provides advancement opportunities impossible under traditional tribal systems. The training programs that prepare auxiliary units for Roman military service combine traditional skills with Roman tactical methods, creating military forces that serve Roman interests while maintaining cultural identities that preserve unit cohesion and fighting spirit. The command structures that govern auxiliary forces ensure Roman control while providing leadership opportunities for exceptional individuals from conquered populations. The cultural integration that occurs within Roman military forces creates social bonds that transcend ethnic boundaries while maintaining the diversity that provides tactical advantages in different military situations. Roman legionaries and auxiliary troops serve together in campaigns that create shared experiences and mutual respect that overcome traditional tribal animosities, while the Roman military system provides advancement opportunities based on merit rather than ethnic background. The result is military integration that strengthens Roman forces while reducing potential for rebellion among conquered populations. As the night watch begins its vigilant rotation around the camp perimeter, you realize that you are witnessing more than simply military operations. The Roman army represents a complete society organized for conquest, a mobile civilization capable of sustaining itself across vast distances while imposing Roman authority on populations that have never experienced anything comparable. The discipline that governs every aspect of daily life creates not just effective soldiers, but Roman citizens who carry imperial culture into the remotest corners of the expanding empire. The social organization that characterizes Roman military forces demonstrates institutional innovations that create artificial families for men separated from their natural communities by military service. The contubernium system that groups soldiers into mess units provides intimate social support while maintaining military discipline, while the century organization creates larger communities that combine military effectiveness with social cohesion. The regimental traditions that develop within individual legions create institutional loyalties that supplement personal relationships while maintaining connections to broader Roman identity. The cultural transmission that occurs within Roman military forces spreads Roman values and customs throughout the empire, while adapting to local conditions that require cultural flexibility. Roman military units carry Roman laws, customs, and languages into conquered territories where they establish permanent installations and interact with local populations, while the extended service periods that characterize Roman military careers create deep familiarity with local conditions and customs. This cultural exchange works in both directions, enriching Roman civilization while extending Roman influence throughout conquered territories. The economic implications of Roman military operations extend far beyond immediate conquest, to include long-term relationships that transform both Roman and provincial economies. Roman military spending creates markets for goods and services throughout conquered territories, while Roman military protection enables trade and economic development that benefits both Roman merchants and local producers. The systematic nature of Roman economic policies creates incentives for cooperation, while generating revenues that support continued military expansion and effective civil administration. The technological diffusion that accompanies Roman military operations spreads Roman innovations throughout conquered territories, while enabling Romans to acquire useful techniques and knowledge from conquered populations. Roman military engineers introduce construction techniques and mathematical principles that improve local capabilities, while Roman military medicine provides healthcare innovations that reduce mortality and improve quality of life. The systematic Roman approach to acquiring and improving useful technologies creates innovation that benefits both Romans and conquered populations while advancing human knowledge and capability. The legacy of Roman military organization extends far beyond the immediate period of conquest to influence military thinking for over a millennium. The tactical innovations, organizational structures, and logistical systems developed by Roman armies provide models that later civilizations will study and attempt to replicate. The discipline that creates Roman military superiority establishes precedents for professional military forces that continue to influence military organizations in the modern world, while the engineering achievements that support Roman military operations provide infrastructure that serves civilian purposes long after military campaigns have ended. Tomorrow night, as you drift towards sleep in the comfort and safety of your own bed, remember the warriors who learned to call the entire world their battlefield. Remember their extraordinary adaptability, their genius for combining traditional skills with innovative techniques, and their determination to achieve through conquest what could never be gained through passive acceptance of existing limitations. The Roman army that we have marched with tonight will soon cross mountains and rivers that have never been bridged by organized military forces, carrying their standards into regions where no Mediterranean power has ever ventured. The iron discipline that transforms individual farmers and craftsmen into components of the world's most effective military machine demonstrates human potential when properly organized and systematically applied toward ambitious goals. The engineering capabilities that enable Roman armies to operate across continental distances while maintaining tactical superiority over all enemies show what human intelligence can achieve when focused through institutional frameworks that reward excellence and punish mediocrity. The cultural integration that converts conquered enemies into loyal citizens reveals the possibilities that emerge when military conquest serves broader purposes than simple domination or exploitation. Tonight, as you settle into another night of uncomfortable sleep on ground that will soon become another Roman road or forum, remember that you are participating in the creation of civilization that will influence human development for over 1,000 years. The discipline that wins battles also builds institutions. The engineering that constructs siege works also creates permanent infrastructure, and the organization that coordinates military campaigns also establishes governmental systems that serve human needs across generations. The eagles of Rome cast shadows that will extend across centuries, and tomorrow you will help lengthen those shadows across another day's march toward a destiny that encompasses more than conquest. The creation of lasting human achievement through systematic effort toward goals worthy of the discipline required to achieve them. Chapter 3. When the eagles face the fury of free Gaul, let your mind drift now across the morning mist that rises from the forests of Gaul, to witness the moment when Roman military theory encounters the desperate fury of a people fighting for their freedom. The year is 52 BCE, and you stand within the double walls of circumvallation that Caesar's legions have constructed around the hilltop fortress of Alesia, where Vercingetorix, the charismatic young chieftain, who has united Gallic tribes for the first time in memory, has made his final stand against Roman conquest. You are about to witness one of history's most dramatic sieges, where engineering mastery, tactical brilliance, and iron discipline face the combined fury of nearly 250,000 Gauls, who know that defeat means the end of their independence forever. The fortress that looms above you represents everything that makes Gallic resistance so formidable. Natural defenses utilized with Celtic engineering skill, a position chosen to maximize advantages while minimizing Roman superiority in siege warfare, and a concentration of the finest warriors from tribes that have never acknowledged any foreign master. Alesia sits atop a plateau nearly 500 feet high, surrounded by steep slopes and protected by walls that incorporate both stone construction and timber reinforcement, according to Murus Gallicus techniques that have proven remarkably effective against Roman siege equipment. This is not another tribal village that can be overwhelmed through superior organization, but a genuine fortress designed and defended by men who understand both Roman methods and their own advantages. The Gallic warriors who occupy Alesia represent the finest military traditions of Celtic Europe, men whose individual courage and weapon skills have been honed through generations of tribal warfare. These are not the disorganized barbarians described in Roman propaganda, but experienced fighters who have learned Roman tactics through bitter experience and adapted their own methods to counter Roman advantages. They fight with the desperation of men who know that defeat means slavery for their families and the extinction of their way of life, a motivation that Roman discipline cannot match despite its many advantages in organization and equipment. Vercingetorix himself embodies the kind of enemy that tests Roman military supremacy to its limits. Young enough to be innovative, yet experienced enough to command respect, Charismatic enough to unite traditionally fractious tribes, yet practical enough to avoid the heroic gestures that typically doom Celtic military ventures, his decision to concentrate forces at Alesia, rather than continue guerrilla operations, reflects sophisticated strategic thinking that recognizes Roman vulnerabilities while maximizing Gallic advantages. He has chosen ground that negates Roman mobility, timing that forces Caesar to commit to siege operations during the approaching winter, and a strategy that depends on relieving forces that will attack Roman positions from the outside while defenders sally forth from within. The Roman response to this challenge demonstrates the engineering capabilities that make Caesar's legions superior to any other military force in the ancient world. Rather than attempt direct assault against Alesia's formidable natural and artificial defenses, Caesar orders the construction of siege works that represent the most ambitious engineering project undertaken by any ancient army. The circumvallation that surrounds Alesia stretches for over 10 miles, consisting of ditches, ramparts, palisades, and obstacles designed to prevent sorties by the defenders while protecting Roman forces from attack. But this impressive fortification represents only half of Caesar's engineering achievement. The contravallation that faces outward from the Roman positions creates a second ring of fortifications designed to protect against the relieving army that every Roman soldier knows will eventually arrive. This outer wall, nearly 13 miles in circumference, must be strong enough to withstand attacks by forces that will vastly outnumber the Roman defenders, while remaining connected to the inner walls that contain Vercingetorix and his warriors. The result is a double siege in which Roman forces simultaneously besiege Alesia while preparing for siege themselves, a tactical situation without precedent in ancient warfare. The construction of these massive fortifications reveals Roman engineering at its most impressive, requiring coordination between thousands of soldiers working according to plans that account for local topography, available materials, and tactical requirements. Pioneer units survey the ground and mark construction lines, while work parties dig ditches, raise ramparts, and install the timber and stone obstacles that will channel attacking forces into killing zones covered by Roman artillery. The speed and efficiency of this construction amazes even Roman veterans who have participated in siege operations throughout Gaul, but it also reveals the desperate nature of Caesar's strategic position. The engineering challenges that face Roman construction teams at Alesia go far beyond simple earthwork construction, to include problems that require innovative solutions developed under extreme pressure. The rocky ground that provides Alesia with natural defensive advantages also makes ditch digging extraordinarily difficult, requiring techniques that combine engineering skill with brute force labor. Water sources must be controlled to prevent Gallic sorties, while ensuring Roman forces don't suffer from thirst during the extended siege operations that everyone knows lie ahead. Timber for palisade construction must be transported from forests that may be controlled by hostile Gauls, creating supply problems that could prove fatal if not solved quickly and efficiently. The obstacles that Caesar's engineers install in front of both walls represent innovations in defensive design that demonstrate Roman adaptability when faced with unprecedented tactical challenges. Rows of sharpened stakes called cippi create barriers that channel attacking forces while providing Roman defenders with clear fields of fire. Wolf traps, concealed pits containing sharpened stakes, create psychological as well as physical obstacles that slow enemy advances while creating casualties among the most aggressive attackers. Iron caltrops scattered in approach routes disable cavalry while creating additional hazards for infantry forces that attempt night attacks or mass assaults against Roman positions. The artillery positions that dominate key approaches to Roman fortifications demonstrate the integration of engineering and tactical planning that characterizes Roman military thinking at its most sophisticated level. Ballistae and catapults are positioned to provide overlapping fields of fire that can break up enemy formations before they reach Roman walls, while their elevated positions on constructed towers allow maximum range and accuracy. The ammunition storage and transportation systems ensure that artillery units can maintain sustained fire during extended battles, while the standardized construction of engines allows rapid repair or replacement of equipment damaged during combat operations. The logistics of supplying the siege works reveal Roman organizational capabilities that no contemporary civilization can match, but also highlight the vulnerabilities that Gallic strategy hopes to exploit. Roman supply lines must carry not only food and equipment for 60,000 men, but also the massive quantities of timber, stone, and metal required for construction projects that dwarf anything previously attempted by ancient armies. These supply convoys become targets for Gallic raids, while the consumption of materials means that Roman engineers must constantly adapt their designs to use whatever resources remain available. The race between Roman construction and Gallic interdiction creates tactical pressures that influence every aspect of siege operations. The provisioning challenges that face both armies during the siege demonstrate the crucial role of supply management in determining the outcome of extended military operations. Roman forces must maintain complex supply lines, while constructing fortifications that require enormous quantities of materials, but their organized logistics provide decisive advantages over enemies who depend on more primitive supply systems. Gallic forces trapped within Alasia face increasingly desperate food shortages, while their irregular supply methods cannot match Roman systematic approaches to maintaining adequate provisions during extended operations. The arithmetic of consumption versus supply creates time pressures that influence strategic decisions on both sides. As the siege enters its critical phase, you witness the arrival of the relieving army that represents Gaul's last hope for maintaining independence against Roman conquest. The forces that approach Roman positions outnumber Caesar's legions by more than 3-1, representing warriors from tribes across Gaul who have answered Vercingetorix's call for a final struggle against Roman domination. These are not desperate refugees or poorly equipped militia, but experienced warriors led by chieftains who have learned Roman tactics through years of conflict and adapted their own methods to counter Roman advantages whenever possible. The Gallic strategy that unfolds during the final assault on Roman positions demonstrates sophisticated military thinking that coordinates attacks from multiple directions, while exploiting Roman vulnerabilities that Gallic commanders have identified through careful observation. The relieving army attacks Roman contravallations from the outside, while Vercingetorix leads sorties from Alasia against Roman circumvallations, creating simultaneous pressure on Roman forces that must defend against enemies attacking from opposite directions. The timing of these coordinated attacks reflects planning capabilities that Roman propaganda consistently denies to barbarian enemies. The weapons and equipment that Gallic forces bring to this climactic battle represent the finest military technology available to Celtic warriors, much of it captured from Roman forces during earlier engagements, or manufactured according to Roman specifications by Gallic smiths. Long swords forged according to last 10 techniques provide reach advantages in individual combat, while improved shields and armor reflect lessons learned through bitter experience with Roman gladiae and pila. The siege equipment that accompanies Gallic forces includes catapults and towers that demonstrate Gallic adaptation of Roman engineering techniques for their own military purposes. The individual combat skills displayed by Gallic warriors during the assault reveal the fighting qualities that have made Roman conquest of Gaul so difficult and costly despite overwhelming Roman advantages in organization and equipment. These men fight with the desperate courage of warriors who know that defeat means slavery for their families and extinction for their way of life, but their courage is disciplined by experience gained through years of warfare against the world's most professional army. They advance in formations that maximize their advantages while minimizing Roman superiority, employ tactics that reflect genuine understanding of siege warfare, and demonstrate leadership capabilities that coordinate complex operations across difficult terrain. The Roman response to these coordinated attacks reveals the discipline and training that make Caesar's legions superior to any other military force in the ancient world, despite being outnumbered and attacked from multiple directions simultaneously. Units redeploy according to predetermined plans that account for exactly this tactical situation, while reserves move to threatened positions with speed that reflects months of preparation for this moment. The command and control systems that coordinate Roman defensive operations function smoothly, despite the chaos and confusion that typically characterize siege warfare, allowing complex maneuvers to be executed under extreme combat stress. The combat that rages along Roman fortifications represents ancient warfare at its most intense, where individual skill and courage matter as much as superior organization and equipment. Gallic warriors who reach Roman walls face legionaries whose training and equipment provide advantages in close combat, but the desperation that drives Gallic attacks creates psychological pressure that tests Roman discipline to its limits. The fighting is personal and brutal, with no quarter asked or given by warriors who understand that defeat means death or slavery regardless of their previous achievements or social status. The medical challenges that emerge during extended siege operations reveal both the strengths and limitations of Roman military medicine when faced with casualties from sustained combat. Field hospitals established behind Roman lines treat wounds that range from minor cuts and bruises to traumatic injuries that require immediate surgical intervention to prevent death from blood loss or infection. Roman military surgeons, trained through battlefield experience rather than formal medical education, perform operations using techniques that represent the most advanced trauma medicine available in the ancient world, but their success depends as much on the patient's constitution as on medical skill. The psychological warfare that both sides employ during the siege reflects understanding of the relationship between morale and battlefield effectiveness that distinguishes professional military thinking from amateur enthusiasm. Roman commanders spread rumors about the size and equipment of relieving forces to demoralize Gallic defenders, while Gallic leaders use religious ceremonies and appeals to tribal honor to maintain fighting spirit among warriors who can see Roman fortifications growing stronger each day. The propaganda war becomes as important as physical combat in determining which side can maintain the will to continue fighting when casualties mount and supplies dwindle. The logistical challenges that face both armies during the extended siege operations at Alesia demonstrate the crucial importance of supply management in determining the outcome of prolonged military campaigns. Roman forces must maintain supply lines that stretch back to Roman territory, while constructing massive fortifications that require enormous quantities of timber, stone, and metal. Gallic forces face even more serious supply problems, as the populations trapped within Alesia quickly consume available food stores, while the relieving army must carry supplies across hostile territory controlled by Roman patrols and allied forces. The cavalry action that develops on the plateau above Alesia demonstrates the tactical flexibility that characterizes Roman military operations at their most impressive. Caesar personally leads cavalry units in attacks that break Gallic formations threatening to overwhelm Roman positions, while Germanic horsemen serving as Roman auxiliaries exploit their superior mobility to attack enemy formations from unexpected directions. The coordination between infantry defending Roman walls and cavalry operating in open ground reflects training and leadership capabilities that no contemporary army can match, despite the numerical superiority enjoyed by Gallic forces. The artillery support that Roman defensive operations receive from ballista and catapult units positioned on towers and elevated positions provides decisive advantages during the critical phases of Gallic attacks. The accuracy and sustained fire capability of Roman engines break up enemy formations before they can reach Roman walls, while the psychological impact of artillery bombardment disrupts Gallic coordination and morale. The ammunition resupply systems that keep Roman artillery in action throughout extended battles demonstrate the logistical sophistication that supports Roman tactical superiority even when facing overwhelming numerical disadvantages. The engineering innovations that emerge during the siege demonstrate Roman adaptability when traditional military techniques prove inadequate for unprecedented tactical situations. Roman engineers develop new obstacles and defensive techniques specifically designed to counter Gallic assault methods, while construction crews adapt building techniques to local materials and terrain that differ significantly from conditions encountered during previous siege operations. These innovations reflect the systematic approach to problem-solving that characterizes Roman military thinking at all levels of command and technical specialization. The communication systems that coordinate Roman defensive operations during the most chaotic phases of the siege reveal the superior organization that enables Roman armies to maintain tactical coherence when facing overwhelming pressure from multiple directions. Horn signals and flag displays allow commanders to transmit orders and receive reports faster than enemies can adapt their attacks, while messenger networks ensure that information flows efficiently between different sectors of the defensive perimeter. This communication superiority gives Roman commanders tactical flexibility that allows them to reinforce threatened positions while maintaining overall defensive integrity. The night operations that supplement daylight fighting demonstrate the professional capabilities that distinguish Roman military forces from tribal armies that depend primarily on individual courage rather than systematic tactical coordination. Roman units conduct raids against Gallic camps using techniques that maximize surprise while minimizing casualties, while their defensive preparations account for night attacks that might catch less professional armies unprepared. The specialized training that enables these operations reflects the comprehensive military education that produces Roman tactical superiority in all phases of warfare. As the battle reaches its climax during the final coordinated assault, you witness the moment when superior organization and discipline triumph over desperate courage and numerical superiority. The relieving army's attacks against Roman contravallations initially achieve local successes that threaten to break Roman defensive positions, while simultaneous sorties from Alasia create confusion and panic among Roman units that have never faced such coordinated pressure from multiple directions. For critical hours, the outcome of the siege, and with it the fate of Gallic independence, hangs in the balance as individual acts of heroism and leadership on both sides determine whether Roman discipline or Gallic desperation will prove decisive. The turning point comes when Caesar himself leads a cavalry charge that breaks the relieving army's final assault, demonstrating the importance of personal leadership in motivating troops who have reached the limits of physical and psychological endurance. The sight of their commander sharing the dangers that face common soldiers provides inspiration that enables Roman forces to maintain discipline when lesser leadership might have resulted in panic and defeat. The psychological impact of Caesar's personal intervention spreads through Roman ranks like wildfire, transforming defensive desperation into offensive confidence that enables counterattacks against Gallic forces that had seemed on the verge of victory. The collapse of Gallic resistance occurs with startling suddenness once the relieving army begins to withdraw from Roman positions. Warriors who had fought with legendary courage suddenly lose heart when they realize that their supreme effort has failed to break Roman defenses, while the sight of fleeing comrades triggers panic that spreads through Gallic ranks faster than officers can restore order. The psychological momentum that had sustained Gallic attacks reverses completely, transforming organized assault into chaotic retreat as Roman cavalry pursues defeated enemies across the Gallic countryside. The surrender of Vercingetorix represents one of history's most dramatic moments, when a young chieftain who has united Gaul for the first time in memory acknowledges Roman superiority while preserving his honor through personal sacrifice that saves his followers from destruction. His appearance before Caesar in full ceremonial armor represents not just personal defeat, but the end of Celtic independence in Gaul, the transformation of free tribes into Roman subjects, and the extension of Roman authority to the Atlantic Ocean. The dignity with which he accepts defeat reflects the noble qualities that made him so formidable an enemy, while demonstrating the personal cost of resistance to Roman imperial expansion. The immediate aftermath of Alesia reveals the systematic approach that characterizes Roman conquest at its most comprehensive, extending far beyond simple military victory to include administrative measures designed to prevent future rebellion while beginning the process of imperial integration. Roman surveyors immediately begin mapping conquered territories according to imperial standards, while census officials compile population records that will determine tax obligations and military recruitment quotas for generations. The speed and efficiency of these administrative procedures demonstrates the empire's understanding that lasting conquest requires bureaucratic consolidation as well as military domination, creating governmental structures that will outlast individual commanders and political changes in Rome. The treatment of prisoners taken during the siege demonstrates Roman pragmatism in converting enemies into assets while maintaining the deterrent effects necessary to discourage future resistance. Warriors who fought with exceptional courage are often offered positions in auxiliary units, serving in distant provinces, their military skills contributing to Roman expansion, while their absence from Gaul reduces potential leadership for future rebellions. Craftsmen and specialists are relocated to areas where their abilities serve imperial needs, while their families receive treatment that reflects their cooperation with Roman authorities. The systematic nature of this processing ensures that valuable human resources are preserved, while dangerous elements are removed from potential centers of resistance. The distribution of plunder among Caesar's legions reflects Roman understanding of the relationship between material rewards and military morale that maintains army loyalty during extended campaigns far from home. Each legionary receives a share calculated according to rank and length of service, while centurions and other officers receive proportionally larger portions that reflect their greater responsibilities and contributions to victory. The wealth distribution extends beyond immediate participants to include families in Roman territories whose sons died in service, creating financial incentives for military service, while maintaining popular support for imperial expansion. This systematic approach to reward distribution ensures that conquest generates benefits that extend throughout Roman society, rather than enriching only the commanding elite. The enslavement of captured populations demonstrates the economic foundations that support Roman military operations, while revealing the harsh realities that accompany imperial expansion. Conservative estimates suggest that Caesar's Gallic campaigns generated over 1 million slaves who were distributed throughout Roman territories, according to market demands and imperial needs. These captives provide agricultural labor that increases food production while freeing Roman citizens for military service and urban occupations, create domestic servants that support Roman lifestyle improvements. and generate immediate revenue through slave markets that help finance continued military operations. The scale of this human trafficking represents one of the largest forced population movements in ancient history, with demographic consequences that affect European development for centuries. The construction of permanent fortifications throughout conquered Gallic territories reflects Roman understanding that military victory must be followed by strategic infrastructure that prevents enemy resurgence while facilitating imperial administration. The camps that housed Roman armies during active campaigning are transformed into permanent installations that control key transportation routes, river crossings, and agricultural regions. These fortifications follow standardized designs that maximize defensive capabilities while minimizing construction time and maintenance requirements, creating a network of military installations that can coordinate mutual support during emergencies while providing bases for continued expansion into unconquered territories. The road construction that begins immediately after conquest demonstrates Roman commitment to permanent infrastructure that serves both military and civilian purposes throughout the imperial period. Military engineers survey routes that connect major population centers while providing rapid movement for Roman forces, then organize construction projects that employ local labor under Roman supervision. The roads built according to Roman specifications exceed anything previously seen in temperate Europe, featuring stone foundations, graded surfaces, and drainage systems that maintain functionality regardless of weather conditions. These transportation networks facilitate trade and communication while ensuring that Roman military forces can respond quickly to any threat that emerges in conquered territories. The establishment of Roman legal institutions in conquered territories begins the process of cultural transformation that will ultimately prove more significant than military conquest in determining the long-term relationship between Romans and Gauls. Roman magistrates establish courts that implement imperial law according to standardized procedures, while legal education creates Gallic jurists who understand both Roman legal principles and local customs. The legal framework that governs post-conquest Gaul combines Roman criminal law with commercial regulations that facilitate trade, property law that protects Roman investments, while acknowledging some traditional Gallic practices, and administrative law that defines the rights and obligations of conquered populations within imperial systems. The religious policies implemented in conquered Gaul demonstrate Roman tolerance for local traditions when they don't threaten imperial security, combined with systematic efforts to integrate Gallic religious practices into imperial frameworks that serve Roman political purposes. Traditional Celtic festivals continue under Roman supervision, while Gallic deities receive Roman names and attributes that facilitate religious synthesis. The druidical practices that supported Gallic resistance are suppressed or redirected toward activities that serve Roman interests, while new religious institutions honor Roman gods alongside Gallic deities in ceremonies that celebrate imperial victory, while acknowledging local spiritual traditions. The economic policies that govern post-conquest Gaul reveal Roman understanding of the relationship between provincial prosperity and imperial stability that characterizes successful long-term imperial administration. Rather than simply extracting wealth through tribute and plunder, Roman administrators establish systems that increase agricultural and commercial production, while generating revenues that support imperial expansion and administration. Tax policies provide incentives for increased production, while ensuring adequate imperial revenues, while trade regulations facilitate commerce that benefits both Roman merchants and Gallic producers. The result is economic growth that makes imperial rule financially beneficial for local populations while generating resources that strengthen Roman power. The urban planning projects that transform major Gallic settlements demonstrate Roman commitment to permanent infrastructure that serves imperial needs while improving living conditions for conquered populations. Existing Celtic settlements are rebuilt according to Roman specifications that improve sanitation, transportation, and defense, while new cities are established in strategic locations that control important resources or transportation routes. These urban development projects provide employment for local populations while creating centers of Roman culture that facilitate the gradual Romanization of surrounding rural areas. The architectural standards applied to these projects demonstrate Roman capabilities while creating permanent symbols of imperial authority. The agricultural reforms that accompany Roman conquest reflect imperial understanding of the relationship between food production and political stability that determines the success of long-term imperial administration. Roman agricultural techniques are introduced through demonstration farms that show local populations improved methods for increasing crop yields, while Roman crop varieties and livestock breeds are distributed to farmers who demonstrate cooperation with imperial authorities. The land tenure systems that replace traditional Celtic agricultural arrangements provide security for Roman colonists while offering advancement opportunities for Gauls who adapt to Roman agricultural practices. These reforms increase food production while creating stakeholders in continued Roman rule throughout rural areas. The military recruitment policies that begin immediately after conquest demonstrate Roman efficiency in converting conquered enemies into imperial military assets, while reducing potential for rebellion in pacified territories. Young Gallic men who demonstrate military aptitude are offered opportunities to serve in Roman auxiliary units, their military skills contributing to continued Roman expansion, while their service provides advancement opportunities impossible under traditional Celtic social systems. The recruitment process systematically identifies and removes potential military leaders from conquered populations, while channeling their abilities toward imperial purposes, creating military forces that grow stronger with each conquest, while reducing the leadership available for future resistance movements. The engineering projects that transform the Gallic landscape reveal Roman capabilities in modifying natural environments to serve imperial purposes, while demonstrating the material benefits that Roman rule provides to conquered populations. Drainage projects create agricultural land from marshes and swamps, while irrigation systems extend cultivation to previously marginal areas. Mining operations extract metals and other resources that serve imperial needs while providing employment and wealth for local communities, while quarrying projects supply stone for construction projects that improve infrastructure throughout the province. These engineering achievements demonstrate Roman technological superiority while creating permanent improvements that benefit conquered populations. The communication systems that connect conquered Gaul to the broader Roman Empire facilitate administrative coordination, while creating cultural connections that gradually transform Gallic identity from tribal to imperial. Courier networks carry official correspondence between provincial administrators and Roman authorities, while commercial communications facilitate trade relationships that span continents. The postal systems that serve Roman officials are gradually extended to serve civilian populations, creating communication capabilities that exceed anything available under Celtic political systems. These communication networks reduce the isolation that previously limited Gallic horizons while creating practical connections to Roman civilization. As the deepest hours of night settle over the fortifications of Alasia, now transformed from a site of desperate resistance into a monument to Roman engineering and administrative capability, you realize that you have witnessed more than military conquest. You have observed the beginning of a transformation that will create European civilization as we know it. The discipline that enabled Roman victory over Gallic resistance will evolve into administrative systems that govern diverse populations across continental distances, while the engineering capabilities demonstrated during the siege will create infrastructure that serves human needs for over a millennium beyond the fall of imperial government. The silence that envelops the former battlefield reflects not the exhaustion of conquest, but the peace of achievement, the quiet satisfaction that comes from transforming military victory into lasting civilization through patient administrative work that creates genuine prosperity for conquered populations. The soldiers who achieved victory through disciplined courage will become the administrators who build roads, establish schools, and create legal institutions that serve human flourishing long after the eagles have been laid to rest and the legions have passed into historical memory. Sleep now in the knowledge that human societies can transcend the limitations of their origins through disciplined effort toward goals that serve universal human needs, that cultural differences can become sources of strength rather than division, when proper institutions provide frameworks for cooperation, and that the greatest conquests are achieved not through destroying enemies, but through creating opportunities that transform enemies into citizens, competitors into collaborators, and tribal limitations into imperial possibilities that honor human dignity while serving collective prosperity across vast distances and extended time periods that encompass multiple generations working toward common goals worthy of their sacrifices and achievements. Chapter 4. From Conquerors to Builders of Eternity. Let your breathing slow now, and allow your mind to drift across decades from the smoke of battlefield victories to the marble halls and bustling forums of Lugdunum, the great city that now stands where Gallic tribes once gathered in their sacred groves. The year is 15 CE, and you walk not as a conquering soldier, but as a veteran settler, one of thousands of Roman citizens who have transformed the landscape of Gaul from a collection of warring tribes into one of the empire's most prosperous and thoroughly Romanized provinces. You move through streets paved with stone blocks, past temples dedicated to Roman gods and Gallic deities alike, observing the extraordinary transformation that has occurred in the 60 years since Caesar's legions first crossed the Alps into this misty, forested land that once seemed so alien to Mediterranean civilization. The city that surrounds you represents more than urban planning. It embodies the Roman genius for transformation, the imperial ability to take the raw materials of conquest and reshape them into something greater than either conqueror or conquered could achieve alone. Lugdunum sits at the confluence of the Rhone and Saône rivers, positioned to control trade routes that now carry goods from Britain to the Black Sea, from the amber shores of the Baltic to the spice markets of Alexandria. This strategic location, chosen with the same precision that Roman generals applied to battlefield tactics, has become the administrative and commercial heart of Roman Gaul, a city whose prosperity demonstrates the benefits that Roman rule can provide to populations wise enough to embrace imperial integration. The forum that serves as Lugdunum's civic heart reveals the synthesis of Roman and Gallic elements that characterizes successful imperial administration throughout the conquered territories. The basilica that dominates the central space follows classical Roman architectural principles, but its decorative elements incorporate Celtic motifs that acknowledge local artistic traditions while subordinating them to Roman authority. The temples that surround the forum honor Roman gods whose cults have been adapted to include Gallic deities, creating religious synthesis that satisfies both imperial policy and local spiritual needs. The administrative buildings house Roman officials who implement imperial law while working with local aristocrats whose families have learned that cooperation with Rome provides greater opportunities than resistance ever could. The commercial activity that fills Lugdunum's markets demonstrates the economic integration that makes Roman imperial policy successful over the long term. Merchants from across the empire gather in warehouses that store goods produced throughout Gaul and destined for markets in regions that most Gauls had never heard of before. Roman conquest brought them into contact with global trade networks. Gallic agricultural products, metals, and manufactured goods flow south to feed Roman armies and urban populations, while Roman coins, tools, and luxury items move north to create markets that increase Gallic prosperity while binding local economies to imperial systems that make rebellion economically ruinous, as well as militarily hopeless. The educational institutions that have emerged in Lugdunum reveal perhaps the most significant aspect of Roman cultural transformation, the systematic effort to create Gallic elites who think and act as Romans while maintaining connections to local populations that ensure stable imperial administration. Schools established according to Roman pedagogical principles teach young Gauls to read and write Latin, to understand Roman law and history, and to aspire to careers in imperial service that provide social advancement impossible under traditional Celtic systems. These institutions produce administrators, military officers, and commercial leaders who serve Roman interests not because they are coerced, but because Roman success becomes their personal success. The curriculum that governs these educational institutions reflects Roman understanding of the relationship between cultural knowledge and political loyalty. Students learn rhetoric and oratory skills that prepare them for careers in law and administration, while mathematical and engineering instruction provides technical competence necessary for managing imperial infrastructure projects. The study of Roman history and literature creates emotional connections to imperial achievements, while instruction in Greek philosophy and science demonstrates the breadth of knowledge available through Roman networks. Most importantly, the entire educational process is conducted in Latin, creating a shared linguistic foundation that binds Gallic elites to Roman culture, while providing access to knowledge networks that span continents. The legal system that governs daily life in Roman Gaul demonstrates the practical benefits that imperial rule provides to populations that accept Roman authority. Roman law, administered by professional jurists trained in legal principles developed over centuries of imperial experience, provides predictable procedures for resolving disputes that under Celtic custom might have led to blood feuds lasting for generations. Commercial law facilitates trade relationships that span continents, while criminal law provides security that allows economic development to proceed without constant disruption from banditry and tribal warfare. The result is a legal environment that encourages investment, innovation, and long-term planning impossible under previous political arrangements. The court procedures that implement Roman law in Gallic territories demonstrate the systematic approach that characterizes imperial administration at its most effective. Professional judges trained in Roman legal principles ensure consistent interpretation of laws regardless of local customs or personal relationships, while standardized procedures guarantee that legal outcomes depend on evidence and precedent rather than wealth or social status. The appeals process that allows unsatisfied parties to seek review of local decisions provides safeguards against corruption while maintaining ultimate imperial authority over legal interpretations. The integration of Roman law with local customs creates legal synthesis that preserves useful traditions while eliminating practices that conflict with imperial policy. The religious synthesis that characterizes Roman Gaul reveals the theological flexibility that makes Roman imperial policy successful in integrating diverse cultural traditions. Roman gods adopt Celtic characteristics while Celtic deities acquire Roman names and attributes, creating religious systems that satisfy both imperial requirements and local spiritual needs. The imperial cult that honors deceased emperors provides political focus for imperial loyalty, while traditional Celtic festivals continue under Roman sponsorship, creating cultural continuity that reduces resentment while ensuring political subordination. Druids who once led resistance to Roman rule now serve as priests in Roman temples, their knowledge of local traditions making them valuable intermediaries between Roman authorities and Gallic populations. The temple complexes that emerge in Romanized Gallic cities demonstrate the architectural synthesis that characterizes successful imperial integration. Classical Roman building techniques create structures that conform to imperial standards, while decorative elements incorporate Celtic artistic motifs that acknowledge local aesthetic preferences. The religious ceremonies that take place within these temples combine Roman ritual practices with Celtic traditions, creating worship experiences that feel familiar to local populations, while serving imperial political purposes. The priestly hierarchies that administer these religious institutions include both Roman appointees and local religious leaders, ensuring that spiritual authority serves imperial policy while maintaining connections to indigenous traditions. The military transformation that has occurred in Roman Gaul reflects the empire's success in converting former enemies into valuable military assets. Gallic auxiliary units served throughout the empire, their fighting skills contributing to Roman expansion in Britain, Germany, and Dacia, while their absence from Gaul reduces potential for rebellion. Young Gauls who might have become tribal warriors under the old system now seek careers as Roman officers, their ambitions channeled into imperial service that provides social advancement while strengthening Roman military capabilities. The result is a military system that grows stronger with each generation as Gallic fighting traditions become integrated into Roman tactical doctrine. The recruitment procedures that transform Gallic youths into Roman soldiers demonstrate the systematic approach that characterizes imperial military policy. Local officials identify promising candidates based on physical fitness, intelligence, and family background, while recruiting officers evaluate military potential according to standardized criteria developed through generations of imperial experience. The training programs that prepare Gallic recruits for military service combine traditional Roman discipline with instruction adapted to local cultural backgrounds, creating soldiers who fight for Rome while maintaining pride in their Gallic heritage. The advancement opportunities available through military service provide incentives that make imperial military careers attractive to ambitious young men whose traditional society offered limited prospects for social mobility. The infrastructure development that transforms the Gallic landscape represents Roman engineering at its most impressive, creating transportation and communication networks that facilitate both military control and economic development. Roads built to Roman specifications connect every major settlement while providing rapid movement for imperial armies, commercial traffic, and administrative communications. These roads follow engineering principles that ensure durability and accessibility regardless of weather conditions, while their standardized construction allows rapid expansion of the transportation network as imperial resources become available for new projects. The maintenance systems that keep roads in serviceable conditions demonstrate the long-term thinking that characterizes Roman imperial planning. The aqueduct systems that supply Gallic cities with abundant clean water represent engineering achievements that transform urban life throughout the province. These structures, built according to specifications that account for local topography and water sources, deliver water to public fountains, private homes, and commercial establishments in quantities that support population densities impossible under previous technological arrangements. The engineering skills required for aqueduct construction combine theoretical knowledge with practical experience gained through similar projects throughout the empire, while the maintenance procedures ensure long-term functionality that serves imperial interests by supporting urban development and population growth. The urban planning that creates Roman cities throughout Gaul demonstrates the imperial understanding that civilization depends on proper organization of human communities according to rational principles. Cities founded as coloniae for Roman veterans follow standardized plans that maximize both military security and commercial efficiency, while existing Gallic settlements are rebuilt according to Roman specifications that improve sanitation, transportation, and administration. The grid patterns that organize city streets reflect mathematical principles that optimize traffic flow and property utilization, while the central forums that serve as civic hearts provide spaces for commercial, political, and social activities that bind urban populations to imperial institutions. The public buildings that dominate Roman cities in Gaul serve multiple functions that support imperial policy, while providing services that improve quality of life for urban populations. Basilicas provide spaces for legal proceedings and commercial transactions, while temples offer religious services that satisfy spiritual needs within imperial political frameworks. Public baths create social environments that promote Roman cultural values while providing hygiene facilities that improve public health. Theatres and amphitheatres present entertainment that reinforces Roman cultural identity while providing recreational opportunities that reduce social tensions and political dissatisfaction. The agricultural revolution that occurs under Roman administration transforms Gallic farming from subsistence production into commercial agriculture that feeds urban populations while generating wealth for rural landowners. Roman agricultural techniques, including improved ploughs, crop rotation systems, and selective breeding of livestock, increase productivity while reducing labor requirements per unit of production. The irrigation systems that supplement natural rainfall allow cultivation of previously marginal lands, while drainage projects create productive fields from marshes and swamps that were unusable under Celtic agricultural methods. The result is agricultural productivity that supports larger populations while generating surplus production for export to other imperial territories. The estate system that develops under Roman administration creates new forms of agricultural organization that maximize production while providing investment opportunities for imperial citizens. Large landholdings worked by slave labor and tenant farmers replace traditional Celtic agricultural arrangements, generating economies of scale that reduce production costs while increasing total output. The villa complexes that serve as headquarters for these estates demonstrate architectural innovations that combine residential comfort with agricultural efficiency, while their self-sufficient nature reduces dependence on external suppliers for most necessities. The management techniques that govern estate operations reflect systematic approaches to agricultural production that optimize resource utilization while maintaining long-term soil fertility. The technological diffusion that characterizes Roman Gaul brings innovations developed throughout the empire to regions that had been isolated from global knowledge networks before Roman conquest. Roman craftsmen establish workshops that teach local artisans techniques developed in other provinces, while Gallic innovations in metalworking and other technologies spread throughout the empire through Roman commercial and military networks. The result is technological progress that benefits both conquerors and conquered, while creating economic interdependence that makes rebellion increasingly difficult to contemplate and economically counterproductive for populations that benefit from imperial integration. The metallurgical advances that occur under Roman administration transform Gallic metalworking from craft production into industrial manufacturing that supplies markets throughout the Western Empire. The exploitation of Gallic iron ore deposits using Roman mining techniques produces raw materials that support both military equipment manufacturing and civilian tool production, while innovations in smelting and forging create higher quality products at lower costs than previous manufacturing methods achieved. The specialized workshops that develop around major metal-producing regions create concentrations of technical expertise that attract investment and immigration, while generating wealth that supports urban development and commercial expansion. As evening settles over Lugdunum and oil lamps begin to flicker in windows throughout the city, you begin to understand the cultural transformation that has occurred in the decades since Roman conquest. Gallic aristocrats now send their sons to Rome for advanced education, wear Roman dress in public settings, and compete for Roman magistracies that provide social status impossible under Celtic traditions. Latin has become the language of commerce and administration throughout the province, though Celtic languages survive in rural areas and domestic settings where traditional cultural practices maintain continuity with pre-conquest traditions. Roman architectural styles dominate public buildings, but private homes often incorporate Celtic decorative elements that maintain cultural connections while accepting political subordination. The marriage patterns that develop among Romanized Gallic families demonstrate the social integration that occurs when imperial policies successfully create shared interests between conquerors and conquered populations. Roman citizens marry into Gallic aristocratic families, while successful Gauls seek Roman spouses who provide access to imperial social networks and advancement opportunities. The children of these marriages identify themselves as both Roman and Gallic, their dual heritage reflecting cultural synthesis rather than cultural replacement. These individuals often achieve prominent positions in imperial administration, their success demonstrating that Roman citizenship provides genuine opportunities for social advancement regardless of ethnic background. The generational changes that shape Roman Gaul reveal the long-term success of imperial integration policies that transform conquered enemies into loyal citizens over time periods that span multiple generations. Young Gauls who have grown up under Roman rule know no other political system, their horizons expanded by Roman education to include opportunities throughout the empire rather than limited to tribal territories and traditional occupations. They think of themselves as both Gallic and Roman, their identities reflecting cultural synthesis rather than cultural replacement. These individuals become the most effective agents of Romanization, their success demonstrating to their contemporaries that Roman citizenship provides advantages that Celtic independence never offered. The economic prosperity that characterizes Roman Gaul demonstrates the material benefits that effective imperial administration can provide to conquered populations willing to cooperate with imperial policies. Urban craftsmen produce goods for markets that span continents, their products competing successfully with manufacturers from other provinces, while maintaining distinctive characteristics that reflect local traditions and preferences. Rural landowners accumulate wealth through commercial agriculture that feeds Roman armies and urban populations throughout the Western Empire, while their investment in land improvements creates permanent infrastructure that increases productivity and property values. Merchants develop trade relationships that generate profits impossible under previous political arrangements, while their commercial networks facilitate cultural exchange that enriches local societies. The social mobility that Roman institutions provide in Gaul creates opportunities for advancement that traditional Celtic society never offered to individuals outside aristocratic families born into positions of inherited privilege. Military service provides paths to Roman citizenship and social advancement that reward merit rather than birth, while commercial success enables wealth accumulation that can purchase social status and political influence. Administrative competence opens careers in imperial service that offer security and prestige, while educational achievement creates opportunities for intellectual and professional advancement. This social mobility creates stakeholders in Roman success while reducing resentment among populations that benefit from imperial opportunities previously unavailable under traditional social arrangements. The legal protections that Roman citizenship provides to Gallic populations demonstrate the practical advantages that imperial integration offers to individuals and communities willing to accept Roman authority. Roman citizens enjoy legal rights that protect them against arbitrary treatment by local officials, while standardized legal procedures ensure consistent justice regardless of local customs or personal relationships. The appeals processes that allow Roman citizens to seek review of local legal decisions provide safeguards against corruption and abuse, while the Roman legal tradition's emphasis on evidence and precedent creates predictable legal environments that encourage long-term planning and investment. These protections extend to commercial relationships, property rights, and personal security in ways that traditional Celtic legal systems never achieved. The cultural achievements that emerge from Roman Gaul reflect the creative synthesis that occurs when diverse traditions interact within stable imperial frameworks that encourage innovation while maintaining political unity. Gallic writers compose literature in Latin that incorporates Celtic themes while conforming to Roman literary standards, creating works that appeal to both local and imperial audiences. Architects develop building styles that combine Roman engineering principles with Celtic decorative traditions, producing structures that serve Roman functional requirements while reflecting local aesthetic preferences. Artists create works that satisfy both Roman patron expectations and Gallic cultural identities, while musicians and performers develop entertainment that appeals to diverse audiences within shared cultural frameworks. The historical consciousness that develops among Romano-Gallic populations demonstrates the intellectual transformation that accompanies successful imperial integration. Local historians write accounts of Gallic history that acknowledge pre-conquest achievements, while emphasizing the benefits that Roman rule has provided to populations that might otherwise have remained isolated from Mediterranean civilization. These historical works create narratives that legitimize Roman authority while preserving knowledge of local traditions, producing cultural synthesis that satisfies both imperial political requirements and local pride in ancestral achievements. The result is historical understanding that sees Roman conquest as liberation from tribal limitations rather than destruction of indigenous culture. The religious developments that characterize Romano-Gallic society reveal the spiritual dimensions of cultural integration under imperial administration. Traditional Celtic religious practices continue under Roman supervision, while Roman religious institutions adapt to include elements that appeal to local spiritual traditions and preferences. Mystery religions from throughout the empire established temples in Gallic cities, offering spiritual experiences that transcend ethnic boundaries, while creating religious communities that bind diverse populations to shared beliefs and practices. The eventual introduction of Christianity adds another layer to religious synthesis, as Christian missionaries adapt their message to appeal to populations already familiar with religious diversity and theological flexibility. The administrative efficiency that characterizes Roman Gaul reveals the imperial ability to govern diverse populations according to uniform standards, while accommodating local variations that reflect geographic and cultural differences that require specialized approaches. Provincial governors implement imperial policy while working with local councils that maintain connections to traditional authority structures, ensuring that Roman administration remains responsive to local needs and conditions. Tax collection systems generate imperial revenues while providing predictable fiscal environments that encourage long-term economic planning and investment. Legal procedures ensure consistent justice while acknowledging local customs that don't conflict with imperial requirements or threaten imperial security. The educational expansion that occurs under Roman administration creates intellectual opportunities that transform Gallic society by providing access to knowledge and cultural resources previously unavailable to populations outside Mediterranean urban centers. Libraries established in major cities collect manuscripts in Latin, Greek, and local languages, preserving knowledge while making it accessible to scholars and students throughout the province. Schools that teach practical skills alongside classical education prepare students for careers in administration, commerce, and technical fields that serve imperial needs while providing personal advancement opportunities. The intellectual networks that connect Gallic scholars to colleagues throughout the empire create knowledge communities that transcend ethnic boundaries while enriching local intellectual life. Yet, as you observe the prosperity and order that characterize Roman Gaul, you also begin to see the subtle changes that will ultimately transform the empire itself, through processes that work in both directions between center and periphery. The Gallic recruits who serve in Roman armies bring fighting traditions that influence imperial military doctrine, while Gallic administrators contribute organizational innovations that improve imperial governance throughout the Mediterranean world. The wealth that flows from Gaul to Rome supports imperial expansion, while creating economic relationships that make the empire dependent on provincial prosperity and cooperation. The cultural synthesis that creates Romano-Gallic civilization becomes a model for imperial integration that will be replicated throughout the empire, demonstrating that successful imperial administration requires adaptation as well as domination. The long-term consequences of Roman success in Gaul extend far beyond provincial boundaries to influence the development of European civilization for centuries after the fall of imperial government. The cities founded by Roman administration become centers of Christian evangelization that spread new religious traditions throughout temperate Europe, while the educational institutions established for imperial purposes provide intellectual foundations that survive political fragmentation. The transportation networks created for military and commercial purposes provide infrastructure that supports medieval trade and communication, while the legal traditions established by Roman administration influence European jurisprudence long after imperial unity disappears. The Latin language that becomes the medium of administration and education provides the foundation for Romance languages that will carry Roman cultural influence into the modern world. The military legacy of Roman Gaul demonstrates the empire's success in converting conquered territories into military assets that contribute to further expansion while strengthening overall imperial security. Gallic auxiliary units participate in the conquest of Britain, their knowledge of Celtic military traditions providing tactical advantages against enemies who fight according to familiar patterns and use similar weapons and tactics. Gallic cavalry units served throughout the empire, their superior horsemanship contributing to Roman military effectiveness in regions where mounted warfare predominates over infantry tactics. Gallic military engineers apply Celtic construction techniques to Roman projects, creating innovations that improve imperial military capabilities while demonstrating the benefits of cultural integration over cultural suppression. The economic integration that binds Roman Gaul to the broader imperial economy creates commercial relationships that survive political fragmentation and continue to influence European development long after the fall of Rome. Trade routes established for imperial purposes become permanent commercial networks that connect northern and southern Europe, facilitating cultural exchange and economic development that transcends political boundaries. Agricultural techniques developed under Roman administration continue to influence European farming practices for centuries, while urban planning principles applied in Roman cities provide models for medieval town development throughout Europe. The result is economic and technological diffusion that makes Roman influence permanent, regardless of political changes that may affect imperial unity. The architectural legacy that Roman administration leaves in Gaul provides permanent monuments to imperial achievement while creating precedents that influence European building traditions for over a millennium. The engineering techniques developed for aqueduct and road construction continue to influence infrastructure development long after imperial engineers are no longer available to direct major projects. The urban planning principles applied in Roman cities create templates for medieval urban development, while the architectural styles developed for public buildings influence church and civic architecture throughout Christian Europe. These physical remains of Roman administration provide tangible connections to imperial achievement, while demonstrating the permanence that effective administration can create through systematic attention to practical needs and aesthetic considerations. As midnight approaches, and Lugdunum settles into the quiet rhythms of a prosperous Roman city, you realize that you have witnessed one of history's most successful examples of imperial integration, achieved through policies that balance coercion with opportunity, domination with cooperation, and cultural transformation with cultural preservation. The transformation of Gaul from a collection of warring tribes into a prosperous Roman province demonstrates that conquest can provide benefits that justify the violence and disruption that initially characterize imperial expansion, when followed by administrative policies that create genuine opportunities for advancement and prosperity. The discipline that made military victory possible has been transformed into administrative efficiency that creates prosperity, security, and opportunity for populations that have learned to see themselves as Romans rather than merely Roman subjects. The story of Roman Gaul represents more than successful provincial administration. It demonstrates the imperial ability to create synthesis from diversity, to transform enemies into citizens, and to build institutions that outlast the political arrangements that created them, while serving as models for future political development. The legions that conquered Gaul with iron discipline have been replaced by administrators whose patient work creates lasting transformation that survives military defeat and political fragmentation. The eagles of Rome may eventually fall, but the civilization they create in Gaul provides foundations that will support European development for over a millennium, demonstrating that the greatest conquests are achieved through building rather than destroying, through integration rather than suppression, and through creating opportunities that make imperial citizenship genuinely attractive to diverse populations. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep in a Roman bed within Roman walls, lit by Roman oil lamps, remember that the greatest conquests are not military but cultural, not temporary but eternal, not imposed by force, but accepted through recognition of genuine benefits that imperial integration can provide to populations wise enough to embrace opportunities, rather than cling to traditional limitations. The transformation of Gaul demonstrates that human societies can transcend the limitations of their origins when circumstances permit creative adaptation to new opportunities that expand rather than restrict human potential. The discipline that won battles has become the foundation for building civilization that enriches both conquerors and conquered, while creating possibilities that neither could achieve alone through purely individual or tribal effort. Sweet dreams carry you across the Roman roads that connect Gaul to the broader world, through forums where citizens debate issues that span continents rather than being limited to purely local concerns, and into schools where young minds learn to think beyond tribal boundaries toward horizons that encompass the entire Mediterranean world and beyond. The empire sleeps securely because its citizens have learned that Roman success is their personal success, that imperial prosperity provides opportunities that independence could never offer to individuals or communities operating within traditional limitations, and that civilization is worth the price that must be paid to build and maintain institutions capable of coordinating human activity on unprecedented scales. Sleep peacefully, knowing that the stones of Roman roads still carry travelers toward distant horizons, that the principles of Roman law continue to influence justice throughout the world, and that the discipline which built the empire provides lessons for anyone willing to learn. That individual achievement depends on institutional effectiveness, that lasting success requires patient building rather than brilliant conquest, and that the greatest victories are won not on battlefields but in the hearts and minds of people who learn to call themselves citizens of something greater than themselves, something worthy of the sacrifices required to build and maintain civilizations capable of serving human needs across generations and vast geographic distances.